Good evening, council, staff, and members of the public. May I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? I have Councillor Fisher and Councillor Moore that the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Springwater, July 8th, 2026 come to order at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? That has carried. Please join me in the singing of our national anthem. Council, may I have mover and seconder to call the public meeting to order, please? Councillor Garwood and Councillor Alexander. That this public meeting of council held under section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP page 13, as amended for zoning bylaw amendment ZB 2026-006 by Brian Hancock on behalf of Mark Furlong, the owners of subject lands, to be called to order at 6:32 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Welcome to this public meeting of Springwater Township Council held under Section 34 of the Planning Act to give the public an opportunity to express their views in regard to the proposed application and amendments. The first part of this meeting is to present the proposed application and/or amendments. Following, the public will be given an opportunity to make an oral submission through the Zoom application or in person. Any person wishing to have made a oral submission is to have notified the township prior to 8:30 this morning. If a person or public body who files an appeal of a decision of the Township of Springwater in respect to the planning application does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or a written submission to the Township of Springwater before the proposed amendments are passed, the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss all or part of the appeal. All comments and questions should be addressed through the chair. Oral submissions will be included in the meeting's minutes and form part of the public record, including the name, address of the speaker, and collected as information of the Municipal Freedom of Information and Privacy Act. The minutes of the meeting will be posted to the township's website. This evening, we are dealing with ZB 2026-006 Furlong, 1804 Old Second North. I will now call upon the clerk to confirm notice.
Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 17th day of June, 2026 to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 12 properties in the Township of Springwater within 240 meters of the area to which the proposed amendment would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies at locations visible from Old Second North and Floss Road 4 East. Notice was also posted on the township's website.
Has the planning department received any correspondence in response to the notice of public meeting?
Correspondence was received from Enbridge Gas in an email dated June 25th, 2026, and from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority in an email dated June 26th, 2026. All correspondence can be found attached to tonight's agenda.
At this time, I will call upon Brian Hancock for the presentation, please. Good evening. The microphones are interesting, so if you can lean in and pull them as close as you can, that would be great.
Okay, good evening.
Thank you.
So this zoning bylaw amendment application was for my uncle, Uncle Mark. It was for a surplus farm dwelling. And part of the process has been completed through the Committee of Adjustments, and this is kind of part two to that application. And it is a requirement to allow the existing auxiliary building structures to be part of the new lot, prevent any livestock from being used in that existing buildings structures, and then reversely on the big portion, the farm portion, the land portion, to not allow any new residential dwelling uses. And as of page 5 of the staff report, the staff are satisfied that the amendment conforms to and does not conflict with the policies of the township official plan and meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw 5000.
Thank you very much. I will now call on our moderator to provide the number of people who have registered to make comment or ask questions.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Coughlin. There have been no members of the public who have registered to speak to the application.
Thank you. Are there any members present this evening that would wish to speak to the application? Not seeing any, I will turn to council. Are there any members of council with comments or questions? Not seeing any. I know there was a big audience and it was, there we are. So thank you to all who participated in the meeting and with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and for showing an interest in the matter. May I have a mover and seconder to adjourn the public meeting, please? Councillor Thompson and Councillor Moore, that this public meeting of council held under section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP 13 as amended for application ZB 2026-006-1804 Old Second North does now adjourn at 6:37 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you very much. Council, we now have direction following the public meeting, and mover and seconder, please. Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood, that council having held a public meeting in accordance with section 34 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 CP 13 as amended for zoning bylaw amendment ZB 2026-006 by Brian Hancock on behalf of Mark Furlong, owner of the subject lands, having noted correspondence and input, direct that the application be approved and that the appropriate documents be submitted to council for consideration. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? And that has carried. We are now moving on to our delegations, and as noted, we are going to move 6.2 up. And at this time, I would call upon Mark from the United Soccer Association for a presentation, please.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Mark Cristanti. I'm here tonight representing the Springwater United Soccer Academy. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Our association is registered with Ontario Soccer. We've been active in Springwater since 2025. We currently have an enrollment of 125 kids, and we're growing. A number of kids, their families, and board members are here in the crowd tonight supporting us. I want to take a few moments of your time to share some incredible news for our youth athletes and express our sincere appreciation to Deputy Mayor Cabral, Councillor Moore, Councillor Fisher, Councillor Alexander, Alex Saldana, and one of our local partners, Geranium, and the entire Midhurst Landowners Group. As council would be aware, our township faces a critical shortage of usable soccer fields. With growing registration numbers, our organization has struggled to ensure that every child who wants to play soccer gets adequate time on a quality pitch. There's an increasingly difficult, given the majority of soccer fields in the Tree Nursery sports complex are exclusively reserved for soccer organizations within Barrie. However, thanks to a massive investment by Geranium and the MLG, a brand new state-of-the-art soccer field has just been constructed right here in our township in the Midhurst Valley community. Building the field is one thing, but getting our players onto it is another. We are thrilled to share that Geranium has officially authorized our organization to fulfill this brand new field as early as this year. We want to publicly thank Geranium and the MLG for their incredible civic leadership and generosity. Instead of letting this asset sit idle while broader development progresses, they've recognized an immense community need and stepped up. By granting us access to this field, they have directly solved a major deficit for our players, and they have directly helped our families and coaches as well. This is a shining example of a developer generally investing in the social fabric of the community they are building. We also want to extend our gratitude to Deputy Mayor Cabral, Councillor Moore, Councillor Fisher, Councillor Alexander, and Alex Saldana. Your ongoing support for recreational community health and collaborative planning makes partnerships like this possible. When the municipality and the private sector work side by side with local sports organization, the real winners are the residents and the kids. Because of this opportunity, hundreds of local children will be out on a safe, state-of-the-art facility, staying active and learning teamwork. The Springwater United Soccer Association particularly salutes Deputy Mayor Cabral for his leadership to ensure this opportunity became a reality. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. And at this time, I'm just gonna have it moved in second to get it on the floor, and then we'll go to that. So moved by Councillor Fisher, seconded by Councillor Moore, that the delegation from the Springwater United Soccer Association be received. And now we can turn to members of council. Councillor Fisher and then Councillor Moore.
Thank you. Just a brief word. Great facility, and it's so nice to see it being used. Like you say, the growth around it. It's nice to see that the kids are utilizing it, and I do thank the Midhurst Landowners Group for offering it up. I also want to thank, as you said, Alex Saldana for this. It's in his neighborhood. He's recognized a need and also engaged partners in order to bring forward a solution. I think it's just really great. It's grassroots leadership, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Councillor Moore.
you. Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Mr. Cristanti, thank you so, so much. I can't tell you how exciting it is. And I've had so many residents now say, we have soccer back at the Grenfell Pavilion and the Grenfell Park. I realize that it's not the best facility and it hasn't been used in a long time, but I think there can be some efforts made to improve the grounds and make them more suitable for games. I know right now they're not. They're suitable for practices. But to drive by and see all the families lined up again, all the kids playing, the park hasn't been used in many years. It was a good soccer field at one time, and now everybody is back there, and it's just very exciting for the whole community. So I appreciate all your hard work, all of the families for coming out, all of the kids for trusting, and congratulations for being designated from Soccer Ontario that Springwater is your home. Nobody else can chime in.
Not seeing any other comments. Thank you so much for the presentation this evening, and thank you to everyone who is here. You're more than welcome to stay, but we will just take a quick brief break if those are willing or wanting to leave. Just as we wait for the chambers, I will ask that John Main come forward and we will begin the Severn Sound Environmental Association shortly.
There we go. Yes.
Right, we're moving back to item 6.1, and I will now call upon John Main and Manager Dean for a presentation from the Severn Sound Environmental Association on sustainability and climate action. And I will turn to you now that you have your spring water pin on.
Now I have my spring water pin. I'm all ready to go. All right. I know you guys have a really busy agenda and we kind of have a lot to touch, so we'll jump right into it. My name is John Main and I'm the Sustainability and Climate Action Coordinator with the Severn Sound Environmental Association. And it's been my absolute pleasure to develop the plan with your staff and with the community. And so we're excited to present some of the draft findings and go through some of the items that are in the plan. So next slide, please. So I'm quickly going to talk about the PCP framework and what the Partners for Climate Protection is and the various milestones. Talk about some of the actions that are in the plan. Talk about some of the success stories that we want to highlight. And then we'll talk about the next steps of how we get the plan up and running and what are some of the opportunities that we're looking at. Next slide, please. So just a very quick background. If you don't know about the Severn Sound Environmental Association, has a background in working collaboratively on water quality issues. The report to the right is the Stage 3 Remedial Action Plan. Since then, the Sustainability Plan was developed in 2009. Township of Springwater is a signatory to that plan. And then local climate change action plans have been developed for the various municipalities since 2018. So we're very excited to have Springwater as part of the collaborative municipal project. Next slide, please. So it's a very vast area, 8 municipalities across Simcoe and Muskoka, and every little black dot is a municipal facility. So that kind of gives you an idea of where all the 20,000 plus people live in Springwater, Elmvale, Hillsdale, Anton Mills, Snow Valley, Midhurst, from north to south, east to west. And so this is a very large public project area. So next slide, please. And it's important when we're talking about climate change to just give a little background, referred to as climate mitigation and climate adaptation. Climate mitigation is the conversation around energy and moving away from fossil fuels. So that's about electric vehicles, air source heat pumps, upgrading houses, buildings, that type of thing. And adaptation is adapting to the new reality of what a changed climate looks like. Ice storms, various extreme weather. We're in a heat wave right now. And so there's things that we do that address both, and we call them co-benefits, but mainly this plan has been looking at energy and energy usage of the municipality and the community. Next slide, please. So the Partners for Climate Protection program is a program run by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and there are over 500 municipalities that have signed on to it. It's a voluntary program, and it's basically a recipe where you calculate your emissions, you set a reduction target and develop the plan. That's where we're at right now. Then you go to implement the plan and action it. And then once you've done a few initiatives, you recalculate and see how well you're doing. And so we're really excited to have achieved milestone 1, and tonight we're hoping to achieve milestone 2 and 3 with the adoption of the plan. Next slide, please. So this achieves one of your key goals in your 20-year strategic plan. Sign on to the Partners for Climate Protection milestone and lead by example. And I think this is a great example of the municipality showing the right way forward and why it's important strategically and also broad community interests and impacts as well. Next slide, please. So when we start doing some energy calculations, your corporation at the end of the day is only about 1% of the emissions. When you add up all the 20,000 plus people and all the trucks and all the houses and natural gas and goods movement, but it's important to calculate your municipal energy emissions. So your fleet, your trucks, big and small, snow plows, your arenas, your libraries, your sewage treatment plants, your water treatment plants, even street lights, and calculate your garbage. So moving, next slide, please. Oh, and I love this slide because this really shows all the great work of my colleague, Manager Dean. So over the last 10 or 15 years, your facility energy consumption has been going down, which is terrific. It's because you've been moving away from heating oils and furnace oil to natural gas. And then the next big step is going to be looking at efficient electric technologies like air source heat pumps or geothermal. But we're already moving in the right direction, so it's great to see that staff have already been addressing low-hanging fruit, like like LED light bulbs and various upgrades to your facility. So it's great that you're already trending in the right direction in terms of facility usage. Next slide, please. And as a large municipality, you have a lot of emissions because you have a lot of roads you have to maintain. A lot of snowplow fleet is a large driver of emissions, diesel and gasoline. And then also you have buildings, and we calculate a little bit of solid waste because waste, when it makes it to a landfill, generates greenhouse gas emissions. So that's what kind of your proportions of your corporate baseline would look like. Next slide, please. So for your top 5, your arena is your number 1 in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. You have to heat it and cool at the same time, so it has a lot of energy needs. This building, the Springwater Administrative Center, is number 2. Even though it is a LEED certified building, it still uses natural gas. So you calculate that out and it turns out to be number 2. Elmvale Sewage Treatment Plant, a really important facility that's running 24/7, uses a lot of electricity. And then your public works yards, they use a lot of energy, a lot of various equipments, and when you open the doors, you lose all your heat. Next slide, please. And so this is we've been discussing, and we've landed at reduction targets of 15% for corporate and for community, which is referred to as an aspirational goal because we don't directly control what the community does. We've set it at 5%. And stealing from another expression of the COVID, we're really trying to flatten the curve. So we're trying to kind of decouple growth and operations with greenhouse gas emissions. So this is a step in the right direction, and we've already seen the municipality is trending in the right way in terms of facility usage, but it's about setting up the next steps of looking at some of the larger ways that we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions at your facilities and across your fleet. Next slide, please. And so in terms of your community, this is very similar to what we've seen at all the other neighboring municipalities. Half of your emissions are from your vehicles, your trucks, vehicles, big and small, and then also your residential neighborhoods. Springwater is also a complete community where you have commercial, you have downtown Elmvale, you also have box stores and variety of other commercial properties. You even have an industrial park, and you also have some manufacturing. And then, of course, solid waste goes to the landfill and generates greenhouse gas emissions. So that gives you your proportion of what the community baseline greenhouse gas emissions look like. Next slide, please. So now looking at some of the actions, we're trying to integrate this plan so it meshes with some of your other goals. So your asset management plan, your capital plan, even official plans link up with a climate change action plan. Also looking at your fleet, exciting news that you're looking at every time you're purchasing a new vehicle, that's an opportunity to look at a plug-in, hybrid, or maybe full electric. For your facilities, if you're not going to build new green facilities, looking at retrofitting your existing facilities and looking at ways that you can improve your asset and maintain your arena for another 20, 30 years or any other facility so you can extend that life and also make sure that it's running efficiently. Community habitat restoration is important. SSEA has been involved with the township on tree planting, shoreline naturalization, pollinator efforts. Everyone is very supportive of saving the bees and the butterflies. And kudos to your emergency management staff because you are prepared for various extreme weather events. So it's important to acknowledge all the great work that your staff are already ready for any various threat that comes our way, be it a tornado or an ice storm. And climate adaptation is another important as well. As we talk about energy, it's also going to be important to look at various climate threats. Next slide, please. In terms of community action, it's all about talking about energy and how the community uses energy, what energy funding opportunities are out there. There may be energy affordable programs for people who may use furnace oil in their home. They may be eligible for a free air source heat pump through a Save on Energy program. So we're going to try to promote those opportunities out there so people know what's available and what's on the table. Talking about transportation, active transportation, trails, and also transit. So we're very fortunate to have the Simcoe County Link system. That's been a very big success story. Also talking about electric vehicle charging stations. Where do they go? Where does it make sense? Continuing to collaborate with partners. We can't do this all on our own. We need to work with the grassroots local partners. And climate change is very much one of those think globally, act locally. So we really need the help and support of your community to because they're the ones that are going to be impacted by climate change. And again, it always comes down to increasing community preparedness for storms and other climate threats. Next slide, please. Just quickly, last year, we went around and did a quick visual waste audit of various municipal facilities. So shout out to the town hall staff who do an amazing job with diversion, organics, and recycling. And what we have found across the board is organic diversion at parks isn't really happening. There's lots of contamination, hot dogs and garbage, and I don't think anyone solved that. So that's just something to be mindful. And we have seen new changes in 2026. I think I even read that there's a survey out right now. So the county is looking for additional feedback on that program. Next slide, please. I just wanted to highlight some existing things that you're already doing and continuing to build environmental momentum. You have a really great updated sustainable procurement bylaw, which talks about various ways to purchase new environmental products or how you integrate that in your existing procurement bylaw. The township has already added an electric vehicle to the fleet. So that's going to be great for people to build comfort and see if it works, if it has enough range. And then a really fun thing is robo-mowers. The staff, we looked for funding, although we didn't get it. We were, the staff have moved forward with getting these great little electric devices that are automated. And so that's the picture bottom right is the robo-mowers out there mowing. So we're going to see lots of new little technology, lots of electric products as we go forward. Next slide, please. And again, just talking about, we already working collaboratively with the community on water quality, on environmental issues, on shoreline naturalization, and this is an extension of that. Continuing to collaborate with SSEA and NVCA and also local groups. So just continuing that concept that we're not starting from zero. We've already worked together and we know how to collaborate together on these important things. So that's why I think it's just important to reiterate the concept that we've built a lot of great momentum here. So let's continue it for climate change. Next slide, please. So next up, we're going to look at how we can action some of the items. We're going to look at all the various funding that is available, looking at some of the climate adaptation funding. Green Municipal Fund is a large pot of money that has modernized and to provide money not just for brownfield remediation, but they're putting money into energy audits or studies into new builds that will be environmentally friendly or green fleet. There's also funding for tree canopy studies. So we're looking at all the various funding that's on the table, and that's going to really help us advance a lot of these climate change actions. So it's just terrific that there is a lot of funding, because that is a big question, is how much is this plan going to cost? And many of these items are funding dependent. And so we're going to be opportunistic and strategic as these funding opportunities come available. And I believe that might be my next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, just on climate adaptation, how it is important that this is not a future threat. We're already seeing impacts today, torrential downpours. In the plan, there's actually even a little section talking about the various tornadoes that have impacted the township of Springwater. We're seeing extreme heat is going to be a growing issue, especially if you live in France right now. We talked about water quality issues and even things like ticks and mosquitoes, vector-borne diseases. That's kind of a weird threat that it just grosses people out because ticks are gross. An ice storm was a really big wake-up call for a lot of people. What's your backup plan? And that's probably one of the most catastrophic storms that wipes out our energy infrastructure, our electricity infrastructure. So that was a good lesson on community preparedness. Some people were really prepared, and other people, are probably thinking about how they can become more prepared if another ice storm happens, which we're worried about, potentially could. And then also we're seeing emergent threats like wildfires and air quality issues from that. And they're not even from Ontario. Some of these are from Manitoba or from the prairies, but how we're being impacted by other Canadian natural disasters. So that's kind of I apologize, that was a very quick overview of a lot of slides. But really at the end of the day, it's two main messages. Energy efficiency pays for itself. So there's a lot of financial momentum around investing in energy technologies. And the second point is around emergency preparedness and climate adaptation, and that we need to prepared for all the various threats that climate change brings. So with that, I just want to say thank you again. And I want to say a special thank you to Brianna Dean. She's just been terrific to work with. And so thank you all to your staff and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Before we have comments and questions, I'll just have this moved and seconded, please. Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood, that the delegation from the Severn Sound Environmental Association be received. And I can turn for comments and questions. Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you, John, for the very speedy, thorough presentation. I just a couple comments here. John does amazing work on this. He really does. And specifically with the funding opportunities, he sources them out of I don't know where. But he's constantly coming with different opportunities for us to help implement some of these projects. So thank you for that. Two quick things that I always pull out from your presentation, John. One, think globally and act locally. I hear from so many people, I'm just one person. It doesn't matter. What I do doesn't make a difference, but it does. It's every single person together making those changes does make a difference. So I think that's an important piece. And I also love the one light bulb at a time analogy for Springwater. Manager Dean has been just amazing at getting us through to some of these milestones in very cost-effective ways. So thank you both very much. And I am hopeful later this evening on the agenda when the report comes through that we can move forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Council-
can I give a shameless plug? Speaking of funding opportunities, we did get funding from Intact to do a collaborative flood project. So if you do get a chance to go on the SSEA website, we have a survey and we're looking for input on if people have been impacted by flooding. So thank you.
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you, John, for being here. And on the flood monitoring piece, an excellent open house in Elmvale a couple weeks ago on flood preparedness and readiness. So thank you. Just a few comments here. First, again, through to Manager Dean and Director Culver, you folks have received a couple awards through the SSEA over the last few years. So the work that you continue to do is very commendable. And our team has always been forward thinking, understanding. Actually, I think it was last year during budget, the robot mowers was a topic around our table. And wink, wink, Director Culver, I hope it is again in the future, because again, moving forward, not only from an efficiency perspective, but from an environmental one. But again, something that you had mentioned really struck a chord with me, which was our facilities. And as we know, we are a municipality of many communities. We are an amalgamated municipality. So therefore, our small halls and our historic arena buildings in those senses mean something to every single one of us at this table, but also the community as a whole. We also know a lot of these facilities, as this council has had to navigate over the past few years, is at a life cycle point or a point of their life cycle where significant investment has been necessary. And again, our team has been finding ways to manage that effectively, make these buildings more environmentally friendly as much as they possibly can when they're 125-year-old buildings. So anyway, just thank you. Thank you to the SSEA. Thank you to our Parks, Recreation and Facilities team for all your work.
Not seeing anything further. I have it moved and seconded. Council, all those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
At this time, we'll move on to item 6.3, and I will call upon Jared Robertson of the Elmvale Harvesters Senior Hockey Club.
Hello, everyone, and just want to say thank you, Mayor Coughlin, council and staff, for the opportunity to delegate tonight. I am here, brief overview, I'm here to seek support for a facility rate amendment for the Springwater room rental during Elmvale Harvesters home games next season and going forward. As a bit of a background, during our inaugural season, the Elmvale Harvesters had a profound impact on the local economy and community spirit. Many businesses saw increased foot traffic on Harvesters game nights, helping to generate vital secondary spending for local restaurants, gas stations, and small businesses. Next slide, please. We can do next slide too. In the 2025-26 season, our organization paid over $17,000 to Springwater Township through municipal rental facility rentals. While we are proud to be a paying tenant of the arena, these fixed costs present a significant hurdle for a community-driven, not-for-profit sports organization. Next slide. Despite our outward success, the reality is that the Harvesters heavily rely on sponsors and our booster club. A drop in revenue from either could have a major impact on the solvency of our organization. Operating on such a thin margin highlights the extensive and rising costs in running a senior hockey club. Next slide. So to ensure the long-term financial viability of the Harvesters and to solidify our partnership with the municipality, we respectfully request that Springwater Township Council approve a targeted rate amendment. Specifically, we request that the township provide the use of the Springwater Room free of charge on Harvesters home games or Harvester games for the upcoming season and moving forward. Next slide. So why this works, on Harvester game nights, the arena is effectively operating at maximum capacity. Because of this, there's no further capacity for bookings from other external groups at that time. Arena staff are already on site cleaning the facility daily, meaning this arrangement requires no additional operational strain or extra staffing hours. Our organization only requires the space for a specific window on game days. For example, if we play at 8 p.m., we would only need the Springwater Room from 5 p.m. onward, leaving it open for the township to book and monetize during the morning and afternoon. Next slide, please. So by eliminating the specific barrier, the township will directly support the sustainability of the Harvesters, ensuring that Saturday nights in Elmvale remain vibrant, active, and economically beneficial for years to come. And next slide, and any questions or comments?
Great. Thank you very much for the presentation. Before I do go to members of council, I'll have this moved and seconded, please. I have Councillor Garwood and Councillor Alexander that the delegation from the Harvester Senior Hockey Club be received. And then we can open it up for comments or questions. Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. It's no secret that I'm a big Harvester supporter and fan. I think you have 7 fans up here at all times because, again, we've had the absolute pleasure of seeing you guys absolutely flourish in your first year. What you've done, not only on the ice, obviously that's a big part of the focus. My focus and what I see it here is from the business community, from the residents on a cold Saturday night in January in town that there's something to do close to home. And that is the community impact that you guys have made. You guys have become true partners, giving back on your theme night, supporting the food bank, supporting Fall Fair, supporting different organizations in the community. Again, that does not go unnoticed. It has, in my years in Elmvale, I've not really seen anything like what we witnessed last winter. A full arena, it makes you forget where you are, and it makes you think that you're watching some big sports entertainment game somewhere, and it's really in our little community arena, which is pretty special. So I'm absolutely happy to support this initiative. I think it is not only something that we should do, but I think we need to do it. We need to see that this team continues to succeed in our community. It's Springwater's team. It says the Elmvale Harvesters, but it's a team that supports the entire municipality. So I do have an amendment that I would like to table, if I can do so now.
Before we do that, is there any other comments or questions to the presenter? Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And I just, again, completely supportive. You guys are amazing. My son is there probably every Saturday night. The only question, I'm sorry, Councillor, that I don't know what your amendment is I just wanted to ask Director Culver how this affects the recreation fees and charges update meet public open house next Tuesday. I just want to ensure that we're not in a position where we're putting the cart before the horse, if you will.
Director Culver.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I hadn't actually thought of that question. So I don't believe it won't have an overt impact. I mean, certainly revenues and expenses are all part of the big question when it comes to assessment of fees and charges. But it's a nominal amount within that scope of revenues. So Short answer is I don't see that it will have a tremendous impact overall in terms of fees and charges. But we're going through this process. So the public consultation is the next step. Then we take that information back and then we'll bring a report to council, where everything will be explained and you'll have the opportunity to see if there's an impact. But the short answer is that it is a nominal amount relative to the arena revenues.
Councillor Garwood, your amendment?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. My amendment is that council authorizes the Elmville Harvesters Senior Hockey Club to use the Springwater Room located within the Elmville Community Arena during all Elmville Harvesters games for which the club has secured and is paying for ice rentals effective commencing with the 2026-2027 hockey season, and further that such authorization shall be granted not more than 3 hours prior to a home game and not longer than 90 minutes following the end of gameplay, and further that such organization shall continue in effect indefinitely with no predetermined expiry date unless otherwise amended or rescinded by council, and further that the purpose of this authorization is to provide the Elmville Harvesters Senior Hockey Club with consistent and reliable access to the Springwater Room during home games in order to support team operations, volunteer coordination, sponsor engagement, and broader community involvement associated with the club's activities while utilizing the Elmville Community Arena during home games.
Yeah, and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Fisher? Comments on the amendment? I think the only comment I would have is that understanding how many people are upstairs when the game's happening downstairs, there's no way we could get everybody in there. The fire chief would probably, he would really support this as well. So we do need the full facility. It is completely supported by the community, and the energy in that room, in that den when you walk in there is something special. So thank you for continuing on that path. Anything further on the amendment? Not seeing any. All those in favor of the main motion as amended, and that has carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
We are now moving on to item 7, which is our Integrity Commissioner reports. The first is our item 7.1, and it is the report from the Office of the Integrity Commissioner, and it's matter number IC 359000326. And I do so that we have Mr. Drury here with us. And
good evening, everyone.
And you can proceed.
Thank you. My introduction for these reports is usually quite brief anywhere not reflected in the report itself.
Thank you, Mr. Drury. And before I go to members of council for comments or questions, I will have this moved and seconded, please. I have Councillor Fisher and Councillor Thompson that the report from the Office of the Integrity Commissioner, matter number IC 359000326, be received. And at this time, I can open it up for any comments or questions. Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And just so everybody is aware, our deputy mayor could not be here tonight. He is at the hospital awaiting the birth of his first grandchild. So he has asked me to read a statement on his behalf. So this is from Deputy Mayor Cabral. I would like to begin by thanking the Integrity Commissioner for the time, professionalism, and care he took in investigating this matter and for providing council with a thorough written report. When I submitted my complaint, I wasn't asking council to decide whether there had been a breach of the code of conduct. Instead, I asked the Integrity Commissioner to independently review the facts, apply the township's code of conduct, and determine whether a breach had occurred. That is exactly the role of the Integrity Commissioner is appointed to perform. From the outset, my goal was never to predetermine the outcome. My goal was simply to have an independent officer appointed by council review the facts, apply the code of conduct, and make that determination. The Integrity Commissioner could have chosen to decline or similarly dismiss the complaint. Instead, he decided the issues raised warranted a full investigation. He reviewed the documents, interviewed the parties and other witnesses, considered additional information gathered during the investigation, and reached his conclusion. Whether a complaint is ultimately upheld or dismissed, this is exactly how Ontario's municipal accountability process is intended to work. Some may question why a complaint that is ultimately dismissed should have been brought forward at all. I respectfully see it differently. The purpose of an integrity commissioner is not only to identify misconduct when it exists, but also to independently determine whether conduct complies with the code of conduct whenever legitimate questions arise. This process protects both members of council and the public by ensuring decisions are based on evidence rather than opinion or politics. 1 second, please. Seeking an independent interpretation of the code of conduct should never be viewed as a failure of the process. On the contrary, it shows that the accountability system council has put in place is working exactly as it was intended. In this case, the Integrity Commissioner concluded that the conduct did not constitute a breach of the code of conduct. I respect the Integrity Commissioner's determination and accept the outcome of his investigation. I continue to believe that raising legitimate questions through the Integrity Commissioner process is both appropriate and important to maintaining public confidence in municipal government. Whether a complaint is upheld or dismissed, the public is best served when those questions are examined independently, fairly, and transparently. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I just have a brief statement that I would like to read. I would like to begin by thanking the Integrity Commissioner for his thorough review of the matter. After reviewing the report, the conclusion is clear. There was no breach of the township's code of conduct. The report confirms that my communication with residents for the North Simcoe Springwater News is entirely reasonable and ethical. It also confirms that members of council are similarly entitled to communicate with residents through newspapers, newsletters, social media, and other public channels as they wish. This is exactly what I have done and exactly what I will continue to do. I take seriously my responsibility to representing residents and to communicate honestly and transparently about the issues affecting our community as a whole. These updates don't simply appear. Their purpose is to inform, not persuade, campaign, or advance political opinion. It is important to emphasize that not $1 of taxpayer money has ever been used to produce these communications. The Municipal Act does not prohibit elected officials from communicating with the people they serve. In fact, effective communication is an essential part of good local governance. Our own code of conduct recognizes this in Section 15 by establishing expectations for respectful, honest, and transparent communication. While the Deputy Mayor is not here this evening, I will make another comment, and then I'd like him to, at some point, to have an opportunity to return should he choose to. Deputy Mayor Cabral, you represented Ward 1 before I had the privilege of serving the community. You know firsthand that people want to know what is happening in the community we both call home. Keeping residents informed is not optional. It's part of the commitment we both made when we took our oath of office. I will not accept criticism because another member of council chose to communicate differently. What I do wish is that these concerns were pursued through direct conversations. I would have welcomed the discussion and believe it would have been far more constructive of an approach. But it is not my responsibility to initiate the conversation when concerns are being raised about my conduct. Tonight, we are considering a report that has cost taxpayers approximately $13,000 and counting. That amount could have funded township communication services through the Springwater News for approximately 6 months. It's equally difficult to criticize a member of council for communicating with residents through a publication that was available to every member of council, particularly when those communications come at no cost to the taxpayer. Every member has had the same opportunity. I would have welcomed to see the Deputy Mayor's community updates in the North Simcoe Springwater News, but your choice was not to submit one. Every member of this council has a responsibility to be responsible stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. Looking at tonight's agenda, there are significant issues before us that will directly affect our residents. Those are the matters they elected us to represent and address. Instead, we have wasted valuable council time and significant public resources on investigations to ultimately conclude that there was no violation of the code of conduct. That provides no measurable benefit to you, the taxpayer. I remain committed to doing exactly what I was elected to do, representing the residents of Ward 1 and communicating with them honestly, transparently, and factually. That commitment has not changed. It will not change, and I will never apologize for keeping residents informed. Thank you.
Not seeing anything further, we are receiving a report from the Integrity Commissioner. Anything, comments or questions? All those in favor? And that has carried. We are now moving on to the matter number IC 358010126. And mover and seconder to have this, please. Councillor Fisher and Councillor Moore, and I will turn to Mr. Jory.
Thank you. My general comments are as with the previous case. In this case, I received a complaint from a member of the public against a member of council. There were a few allegations, broadly speaking. There were three. They're outlined on page 4 of the report. I found that a small part of the case properly belongs to the jurisdiction of the Simcoe County Integrity Commissioner. However, the bulk of the complaint I did believe was validly within my jurisdiction. Some of the complaint was not sustained. However, I found that some parts of it were sustained. And accordingly, I found that Rule 4 of the Code of Conduct was contravened accordingly. In the result, I have made a recommendation to council in this place to issue a reprimand against the respondent. What council does with that recommendation is ultimately up to them.
Thank you, Mr. Jory. And before I do turn to council, I do have a prepared statement. Members of council, staff, and residents, in review of the Integrity Commissioner's report, while I respectfully disagree with aspects of the findings, I respect the process and accept responsibility for the language I used. The conversation referenced in the report occurred during one of the most difficult and divisive periods of our municipality has experienced. That does not excuse my language, it is simply the truth. The address language was not spoken in this council chamber. It was not delivered wearing the chain of office or behind a podium. It was not delivered by microphone or to the media interview or any kind of public address. I understood that conversation to be private. I spoke vulnerably, passionately, and with fierce resolve, describing my need to address the minister with the overwhelming concerns. The findings before council is that the language I chose during that private conversation did not meet the standard and expectation of me as mayor. I accept responsibility for that. To Councillor Moore and Mr. Giampetri, and to anyone offended by the language, I offer a sincere apology, and I assure you I will do better. For 12 years, I've had the privilege of serving this township. Throughout that time, my character, principles, professional conduct, language, decisions, and my moral conviction have been on public display. I hope that record will prevail over one regrettable conversation. My ability to physically stomach situations speaks to my moral compass, not my emotional capacity. My language in personal, vulnerable, and social settings speaks to my upbringing. Yes, I do swear, but so does my ability to turn it off. My ability to be poised, respectful, professional, and grace under fire. I have been and will continue to be the combination of exactly who Springwater chose to represent them. Someone who is real, relatable, human enough to make mistakes, and more so, acknowledge, accept, and apologize. I want to be evidently clear that I am apologizing for my language. It is not about my integrity, it is about my vocabulary. I will continue to trust my gut in simply knowing right from wrong and continue to challenge myself to find ways to make right of our political landscape as it unfolds. I deeply regret my choice of words, understanding the impact described within the report. With better language, I will continue to question right from wrong. I will remain guided by my conscience and convictions. I will continue to follow the moral clarity and civic duty that is just simply a piece of who I am. I will now turn to members of council. Councillor Alexander and Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and So the public is aware, this is a statement from Deputy Cabral that I will be reading. Give me 1 second and bear with me, please. Okay. This is not an easy item before council, but it is an important one. What struck me most about this report was not simply that our code of conduct was breached, it was that the harm these comments caused. The Integrity Commissioner accepted Mr. Mario Giampetri's evidence about the deeply personal impact of being referred to as the mafia. For an Italian immigrant who experienced prejudice growing up in Canada, those words carry a much deeper meaning. They reinforced hurtful stereotypes and diminish a lifetime spent building a respected reputation in our community. The Integrity Commissioner also found that references to the mafia having tentacles everywhere and comparisons to an octopus contravene our code of conduct. These are not comments that reflect the standard of respect expected of elected officials. The Integrity Commissioner also observed that these actions did not reflect well on our township. That matters. As members of council, and especially as the head of council, our words carry weight. They reflect not only on us as individuals, but on the office we hold, this council, our staff, and the community we represent. The Integrity Commissioner also reminded council that the legislation provides a wide range of possible sanctions, from a reprimand to a suspension of remuneration of up to 90 days. While he recommends a reprimand, he also made it clear that the final decision on council's response rests with council. For my part, I accept both the Integrity Commissioner's finding and recommendation that a reprimand should form part of council's response. However, I do not believe a reprimand by itself is enough. A reprimand recognizes that the code of conduct was breached. An apology is what begins to repair the harm caused by that breach. The Integrity Commissioner also observed that the township and its residents would be best served if the relationship between Mayor Coughlin and Mr. Giampetti could be improved going forward. He acknowledged that his office cannot order that. I believe council has an opportunity to help begin that process. For that reason, I believe council should require a meaningful public apology, one that acknowledges the Integrity Commissioner's findings, meaningfully addresses the harm identified in the report, and is acceptable to and capable of beginning to repair the harm experienced by the aggrieved parties, Mr. Mario Giampetti, Geranium Corporation, and the Midhurst Landowners Group. I also believe that an apology should be extended to the residents of Springwater, members of council, and township staff. The conduct addressed in this report affected more than the individuals' names. It also affected confidence in this council, in the office of the mayor, and in our municipal government. True leadership is not demonstrated by never making mistakes. It is demonstrated by accepting responsibility, repairing the harm where we can, and working to restore the trust that has been lost. Today, we have an opportunity to uphold those standards. I will support the Integrity Commissioner's recommendation for a reprimand. I will also support requiring a meaningful public apology, one that acknowledges the Integrity Commissioner's findings, meaningfully addresses the harm identified in this report, and is acceptable to and capable of beginning to repair the harm experienced by the aggrieved parties, Mr. Mario Giampetti, Geranium Corporation, and Midhurst Landowners Group.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. It's just through you to the Integrity Commissioner. I was wondering if he could explain how Rule 4 was violated for council, and then a statement afterward.
Mr. Drury.
Sure, just a moment. Just pulling out the code of conduct here. So rule number 4.1, just like going stating verbatim what it states at the beginning, a member shall at all times conduct themselves with propriety, decency, and respect. And with the understanding that all members of the public, other members and staff are to be treated with dignity, courtesy, and respect. Recognizing that a member is always a representative of the township and of their elected office. It goes on from there, but that's the part that I considered contravened. The portion of the report where I made this finding, let me just pull it out. Is that page 50? So in my view, like what I've done in this case is basically said that like the words of rule 4 like deserve an ordinary plain language understanding. I just basically found that these the words that were used were not dignified, courteous, or respectful. Even though Mr. Giampietri wasn't the individual in the room that was spoken to, was speaking about him. And one thing I did mention in the report is part of the danger in making statements like this is that they can get back secondhand to that individual and be known about. And that's what happened in this case. Just bottom line, I think when we're talking about like the comments that are made, like first, referencing somebody as a specific person in particular, in this case, Mr. Giampietri as the mafia, who is of Italian heritage. I believe there was like a heavy cultural link for that word to people of Italian heritage. It shouldn't be used too simply, basically. I think it was really a poor choice of descriptors in this case. I mentioned I have a feeling what was probably intended by the words, but I thought that particular choice of word was a poor choice. The other aspect was referencing them to MLG as a body with tentacles everywhere. I basically one of my comments in the report is basically you've got like one comment we're basically comparing them to a crime syndicate, and another referencing them as basically a subhuman life form. I just think plain language understanding of those terms, it's not dignified, it's not courteous or respectful, and just a plain language usage of Rule 4, it's a contravention of those terms.
Follow on, Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. I'll keep it brief. I think many of our residents have already read thoroughly this report, although it's lengthy, 56 pages, I believe. I certainly see there's a common thread of language and topics across many conversations. The focus of the slanderous discussion seemed to be widespread, systematic, and purposeful in their intent. I can only speculate as why one would attack the reputation of an individual and, in fact, an entire generous organization within our municipality. But I do feel that the IC report does speak for itself, and I would encourage those to read it. Separately, I think it is spelled out very plainly that we as a council can administer any sort of repercussion that we can, but sanctioning or taking money away from the mayor, although it may be warranted, in my eyes, it doesn't repair the reputation that may be tarnished or diminished of an individual or an organization. So certainly an apology that's fitting to that of the individual and the organization, I think is warranted. So I second that from what the deputy mayor had to say.
I have Councillor Moore and Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Drury, for your thorough report, findings, and recommendations. Our code of conduct recognizes our ethical obligations that apply both inside and outside of the council chambers. Since March of 2019, every municipality in Ontario is required to appoint an integrity commissioner under Part 5, Accountability and Transparency, which includes providing education to council, municipalities, and the public. The legislative framework for the IC is intended to promote ethical governance and maintain public confidence in municipal government, including the public interest. It exists to promote accountability, transparency, and ethical conduct, and members of the public are able to file complaints, which is something we cannot control or sometimes not even aware of. But we must allow, and financial impact of those investigations are contingent on whether or not the Integrity Commissioner deems the complaint worthy of an investigation. If it is not found to be worthy, then the file is closed at no great expense to the township, but if it is found worthy, then we are at the mercy of the legislation. The MLG and Mr. Giampietri have been working primarily in Ward 4 and alongside township staff for more than 2 decades, as legislated by the provincial government of the day. And I know, and I feel that maybe we don't know enough about the work that the MLG do, but I have come to realize that they contribute largely to the success, health, and financial well-being of our community and township. More than you know, because they don't ask for accolades, thank yous, or acknowledgement of all the good work that they do. I do want to take an opportunity while I'm here to highlight some of that good work so that you are aware. So Mr. Giampetri, Geranium, MLG, the contributions are a list that I could come up with, but there could be more. Deeded 24 acres of employment land at the corner of Snow Valley Road and Wilson to the township. So will bring many jobs, tax assessments, all at no cost to the township. They've provided shelter for 2 families in need locally, rehabilitated a barn for training for youth and young adults, constructed the soccer pitch 5 years ahead of time, constructed a trail system to connect the county's system early, financial assistance to a family of a young boy struck by lightning at a workplace accident, multi-year financial support for the Elmvale Maple Syrup Festival, support for the Elmvale Library, housing for a family in need, MLG funding of township staff on the Midhurst Secondary Plan matters. They sent a crew independent to help clean up with the ice storm. They've entered into the funding agreement with the township for the external works for infrastructure needs so that the municipality does not have to fund. This is equivalent to multi-millions of dollars. To date, the MLG as well has invested $5 to $6 million in the community. Again, their support to deliver Highway 400 lands that will create many jobs and tax assessments for the municipality for the future. I highlight these contributions to demonstrate how important our partnerships are with our development partners, that these relationships have been consistently mutually beneficial. Our partners need to feel comfortable and ensured and reassured that their considerable financial investments are part of a larger and welcomed picture for the future of Springwater Township. There was clearly a line that was crossed, and that's how it felt. The IC has completed his investigation. Thank you so much. And as concluded on such, but this is not my disagreement. I do accept your apology though, Mayor Coughlin. Thank you for that. I believe the damage significant damage has been done, and I agree that it is time to start repairing the same. Significant damage to everyone involved. But that can change. I would also then like to support the public apology as presented by Deputy Mayor Cabral. And if we could then ask maybe the clerk to, do you have that prepared already? Okay, thank you so much. So my position will be to support the public apology. Thank you.
And thank you. And before we do move to that, I do have 2 other hands. Also, as Deputy Cabral is not present this evening, that would require a separate mover and seconder, just for procedural. I have Councillor Thompson and then Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through the chair to Mr. Drury. If I read your report correctly, you had stated in your report that through your investigation that you found the mayor embarrassed and remorseful about this report, and that you felt and deemed that the report was enough of a sanction. Can you speak to that a little bit, please?
Mr. Drury?
Yes, and through the chair, it's some of my comments on that point are more a work of art than science. It's not. Mayor Collins didn't specifically tell me that she was embarrassed or anything like specific words to that effect. That's a sense I received in speaking with her. That was the sense I had that was there, and she did tell me that she has made efforts since this complaint was initiated. This complaint was initiated in January, so in the month since then, that there have been direct efforts to try to reconcile with Mr. Giampetri, which haven't been successful to date. But I got the sense there have at least been efforts on her part to try to make things better, which in her view haven't been reciprocated necessarily. My recommendation for a reprimand similarly is more a matter of art than science. It's partly a belief on my part, like in terms of that I didn't believe a financial a financial penalty would necessarily be helpful to this situation. I don't think it would necessarily affect any future conduct. Just based on my gut feeling about what it was that I heard from all sides here. I didn't think it was one part of like what any integrity commissioner is trying to do is designed to try to get compliance in future. And my view is that a financial penalty, like whether it's a reprimand or a financial penalty, I didn't think it would make a difference necessarily. That's a gut feeling. That's just based on my speaking with the parties involved, speaking with all of the other witnesses. And based on my experience, just having done this for a few years, also being a mediator for a number of years, working with conflict, just generally speaking, that was just a feeling I had that would be the most helpful way of addressing this. It is open to council to do something else, but my view was I didn't think it would necessarily be helpful for the township to impose a financial penalty here. It is open to council to make a different decision, but my view, having spoken with the parties, spoken with the witnesses, just thinking about what's involved in this case, I did believe like the mere issuance of the report, which is automatic, but I did feel that there was definitely some burden upon the respondent in merely having this report issued, just given the variety of content involved in it. That was my own gut feeling.
Follow on.
Thank you. I met the mayor 12 years ago when she came to my door when she was campaigning to be elected as my counselor. I've known her for 12 years and certainly don't condone the comments that were directed towards Mr. Giampetri. But I think that other than that, she's had an impeccable record and she's shown a lot of courage, leadership, and integrity during this process of contention with the Midhurst Landowners Group. And while this was all going on, she actually championed and helped them secure $25 million in funding for the wastewater plant. She actually championed that. I know that she was directly involved in helping to ensure that the Midhurst Landowners Group got that grant from the province. This report cost us as taxpayers $29,000. The report states that it was initiated when Councillor Moore called Mr. Giampetri and shared a private conversation. To me, this is about intent. There was no intent of the mayor to harm Mr. Giampetri in any way, and I think really that conversation should have been kept private. Also in this report, I was really surprised to see that some of the mayor's medical information was revealed. And Councillor Moore identifies herself as a registered nurse of, I think it was 30 years. And that's a violation of the College of the Nurses Association. And my question to Mr. Drury, why was the medical information included in the report? And why did you feel that that was important to be there?
Yeah, through the chair, in general, the integrity commissioner, like under the municipal act, there is a specific rule saying I or any integrity commissioner is entitled to reveal it to include in the report any matters that I believe are relevant or necessary for the purposes of the report. There were actually a variety of information in the report that I received that I didn't include. That was not one that I considered that couldn't be included or shouldn't be included. That was a determination. That one was not actually one that even occurred to me as one that shouldn't be included. And there were several pieces of information that a variety of people gave me that I decided there's no need to include this. That was not among them.
Councillor Thompson?
Also, in this report, there's some comments by Councillor Fisher, where he actually said that it's not the Midhurst Landowners Group that's the mafia, that it's the mayor that's the mafia. So if the mayor was being sanctioned for using that wording, why was not Councillor Fisher in this report not sanctioned for using the wording he used?
Point of order.
I'm gonna turn to clerk, CO Ainsworth. I'm gonna turn to CO Ainsworth. The information that's being provided tonight is not intended for debate. That will be obviously to the discretion of council, but I will turn to CO Ainsworth at this time.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So council's role in this is to consider the reports and any recommendations that are before council under the Municipal Act and the Code of Conduct. So debate should not attempt to rehear evidence or revisit the commissioner's investigative process, except really as it relates to the recommendations before council. That is the role of council this evening.
I'm going to turn back to our Councillor Thompson for completion. I do have Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood who have not made their statements yet.
So I guess my question would be to Counselor, through the chair to Counselor Moore, is why would you have not have made a call about this to the mayor to discuss it? And what was the intent of?
I think Councillor Thompson, I think the CO Ainsworth has just reiterated that if questions are to be directed to the Integrity Commissioner, this is simply to make statements about the findings that are within there. We can all make statements that we agree or disagree with the findings. This is simply before council to accept and determine the outcome. Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Our role as elected officials does not limit itself to this council table. It includes how we conduct ourselves in public when we are representing the township. Given the mayor's comments toward a long-standing community partner, whether they were made at this table or not, they are extremely unprofessional and clearly breach our code of conduct. Further, they put this township at risk of legal action being taken against it. This type of behavior is not leadership. It is the exact opposite. Given the comments that this was one conversation, if you read the report, multiple witnesses stated that although they did not directly hear the slanderous comments, they had heard rumors. As well, personally, I did not directly hear these comments, but I also did hear the rumors. But more disturbing, I read comments on Facebook that alluded to these comments made by the mayor, and these were written by supporters of the mayor. That leads me to believe that this was widespread, these rumors going around. And again, Mayor Coughlin, I'm not saying that you may have only stated this to one person, but it appears that it was stated to multiple people from witness statements in the report. I'd like to speak, we often at this table speak about integrity as well as the elect respect, both of which I 100% believe in. But what I would like to say is you can't just sign a pledge or say you have integrity. That means nothing. It is your actions that mean something. And I feel this IC report speak for itself. Personally, I do feel that the 90-day pay sanction is warranted. However, given the IC's recommendations, I am willing to move what was the deputy mayor's amendment as it stands, and I will move that forward at the appropriate time.
Councillor Garwood.
Right, my mic was not on. Let me be clear, as I have been direct with Mayor Coughlin, the language she is said to have used is not appropriate. As elected officials, we are rightly scrutinized for our actions, our decisions, and our words, both inside and outside of this chamber. The oath we took speaks to respect, integrity, and accountability. The conduct described is not reflective of the standards we should all uphold. That said, I also acknowledge that the mayor has now publicly apologized and accepted responsibility for her words. That matters. Leadership is not about never making mistakes. It's about having the humility to acknowledge them and to move forward, an essential quality for anyone who serves in public office. The actions described are not representative of the mayor that I have come to know. At the same time, none of us can truly understand the weight of serving in the mayor's chair unless we have sat there ourselves, and none of us have. That is not an excuse, nor is it justification. It is simply a fact. The responsibility is significant, and with that responsibility comes pressure. This matter is about language, not integrity. The comments at issue were shared in confidence and ultimately became a game of telephone between colleagues. It should not have happened, but it did. This is an opportunity for self-reflection for each of us, including Mayor Coughlin. How many of us have said something in frustration to a colleague, a friend, or a family member that we later regretted? That does not excuse what was said, but it reminds us that none of us are perfect. Holding public office does not make us immune from making mistakes. It simply means we are expected to own them when we do. And Mayor Coughlin tonight has owned this mistake, and I hope and I know she will continue down that path. My focus, however, turns to the taxpayer. Throughout this term of council, this is far from the only Integrity Commission report that we have considered. And I'm not referring to just the reports before us tonight. If we are going to respect the process, then we must respect it consistently, not only when the findings align with our own views. Taxpayers have funded $133,858 in Integrity Commissioner services this term, including advice to members, as well as costs associated to investigations and complaints. And I think every resident has the right to ask a simple question. What value did you as a taxpayer receive from that $133,000 investment? The Integrity Commissioner process is important, and I completely agree with that. It plays a vital role in ensuring elected officials remain accountable to the public. However, we must also recognize that across municipalities, including our own, it is increasingly being used as a political weapon between council members rather than the accountability tool it is intended to be. That should concern all of us. My hope is that we can move forward with a renewed focus on serving our residents for the remainder of this term instead of repeating the same divisions around this table. We cannot criticize one member of council for their conduct while failing to hold ourselves to the very same standard. Accountability must be consistent and respect must be mutual. Mayor Coughlin has dedicated her life to public service. She has never stopped fighting for this community, and she never quits when it comes to advocating for the residents of Springwater. One mistake, which is what it was, should never define an entire record of service, just as it should not define any one of us. In conclusion, I do agree with some of the comments around the council table tonight. I don't think any member of council tonight, including the mayor, thinks that what has gone on is okay. And I know from the mayor's apology, it seems as if she is regrettable for those actions. But something was brought up earlier in the conversation, which is Rule 4, which is conduct of members. I'm glad that was brought up. Conduct of members, Rule 4.1, all members shall at all times conduct themselves properly with decency and respect, and with the understanding that all members of the public, other members and staff are to be treated with dignity, courtesy, and respect, recognizing that a member is always a representative of the township in their elected office. I agree. The conduct of what happens, whether it be in this chamber and outside, matters. But once again, we need to look at consistency. There is a reason the elect respect pledge exists. There is a reason I brought it to this table over a year ago, and unfortunately, still to this date, only 5 of 7 members of this council have signed on to that pledge. The reality is, I completely agree that the conduct of matters members, but again, we need to be consistent in our approach. We need to be consistent and not focus on rumors or what we hear on Facebook, and instead focus on facts. Thank you.
Thank you. I do see Councillor Fisher's hand. I will remind of COA Ainsworth's information. It was my intent to pass the chair, not to be seen as influencing this. I do believe all members of council have had an opportunity. I am sure that there are aspects of each of our statements that we all disagree with. If it is the intent of council to continue the conversation, I would like to pass the chair so that I'm not seen as silencing anyone in this conversation. However, if we are ready to move forward with the amendment that is being proposed, I do believe we've all had an opportunity and would welcome an amendment at this time, or I can pass the chair. Councillor Fisher.
If you'd like me to put an amendment on them.
The amendment?
Okay, I propose that that the mayor apologizes for her actions. She's descriptive and such, and also that it's fitting of what Mr. Mario Giampetri would want.
Thank you for that. And as stated earlier, Councillor Alexander does have a prepared statement by Deputy Cabral. At this time, I would ask CAO Ainsworth to read it and see if it is amendable or if it's good. CAO Ainsworth?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The amendment would read, and that in response to a finding of contravention and in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001, council impose a reprimand and request a meaningful public apology, one that acknowledges the Integrity Commissioner's findings, meaningfully addressing the harm identified in the report, and is acceptable to and capable of beginning to repair the harm experienced by the aggrieved parties, being the applicant and the noted parties within the report.
Thank you. And for clarification on my ability to vote on the main motion and amendments, please.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just one moment. In accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, members are able to participate within an Integrity Commissioner's report, however, are unable to vote on the matter when there is a finding of contravention. So at this point, Mayor Coughlin, I would recommend passing the chair and declaring a conflict of interest.
I would look for, are you willing to chair? Is that what your hand's up for? Thank you. I will turn now to Councillor Garwood, and CAO Ainsworth is here to assist. At this point, I will be declaring conflict and will be passing the chair to Councillor Garwood.
CEO Ainsworth, would you like me to sit in the mayor's chair to speak with you or just from here? Okay, so at this moment, I believe there has been an amendment brought forward. Just a point for clarification for council. I believe in the deputy mayors, I'm going to call it the deputy mayors, but understanding Councillor Fisher and Councillor Alexander, I believe, are presenting this, indicate a reprimand. Can we just clarify, is the reprimand that it's council's reprimand? It's not a financial reprimand. I just want clarity on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It states council impose a reprimand and request a meaningful public apology. What I can do is change that to make it a little clearer. Council impose a reprimand being a request for a meaningful apology. That way it is clear it is the reprimand is the request for apology.
I'm okay with that, but Councillor Fisher.
Just like a friendly amendment that it be satisfactory to the complainant.
I'm sure that is doable. Councillor Thompson, you had your hand up. Thank you. Before we move on to vote on the amendment, was there anything further from council? I'll need a mover and seconder, Clerk Ainsworth, Councillor Fisher, Councillor Alexander. All those in favor? And that is carried. And then over to the main motion, mover and seconder on the, nope, we already have that. All those in favor on the main motion, and that is carried. And I will pass the chair back to Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you, Councillor Garwood. At this time, we will move on to section 8, which is question period. And I'm going to give our CAO a quick minute here. And I will turn to our CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Question period submissions will not be accepted where they relate in any way to the municipal election process or campaign activity. This includes, but is not limited to, statements or questions indicating an intent to run for office, announcing or promoting a candidacy, expressing support for or opposition to a candidate, referencing another person's candidacy, or making comments that could reasonably be interpreted as election-related advocacy. However, general administrative questions about the conduct of the election may still be accepted, provided they do not promote or oppose any candidate or campaign. Examples of acceptable questions include those respecting voting methods, voting locations, voter eligibility, and other general election administration matters. To preserve the neutrality and procedural integrity of council meetings, any submission containing campaign-related municipal election content will be deemed ineligible for question period and will not be read or considered.
At this time, I will turn to the moderator to note if there's any registered questions.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. A submission was received from Hale Mahen of 33 Hillview Crescent, who could not be here this evening and has asked that it be read. Mr. Mahen provides the following. There is no doubt that the Township of Springwater has received a lot of attention the past few years for our politics. I often speak to people in neighboring municipalities who say, "You have a divided council." I often see clips of the Barrie News and articles in Barrie Today talking about debates that happen in this chamber. I, for one, believe that debate, even heated debate, is necessary in a democracy. It makes sure significant changes that will impact residents for decades don't just get passed through. It makes sure council is actually a deliberative forum and not just a rubber stamp. Some attention is worth it when it shows that council is taking its democratic responsibility seriously. But the attention Springwater has gotten from the Integrity Commissioner's report is the wrong kind of attention. It deals with comments made privately outside of this public forum and not made constructively. But the fact that they are private does not mean that they're not impactful. I'm sure other comments tonight will deal with the impact, reputational, financial, and more. The report is a starting point for accountability. It makes things known to the public. Comments like mine and others tonight are another form of accountability, raising attention to the contents of the report. My question is, what will council do to take accountability further?
Thank you, and thank you for the question. Are there any other submissions this evening?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. There have been no other submissions received.
At this time, I can turn to members of the public for any comments or questions. Come forward, please. And assuming that this is going to be, at this time, council, it would be my desire to simply waive the procedural bylaw to allow for any additional questions informally unless council objects. Then what I will do is just ask that those who would like to, if they could kind of line up in between so we don't have to, that would be great. Your name and address, please. And as a reminder, there is 3 minutes for questions. With 1 minute remaining, my microphone will turn red, and that lets you know that you have 1 minute left. Please proceed.
Start your timer. Janine Peck, 52 Idlewood Drive in Midhurst. In the December 11th letter to Minister Flack relating to the Loopstra-Nixon invoice that has finally been released and included in tonight's agenda, item 10.1, Mayor Coughlin noted that, quote, there were several items that raised concern. She went on to say, specifically, the account includes charges for what appears to be conversations between members of council and representatives of Loopstra-Nixon. Mayor Coughlin said, these entries appear inconsistent with our engagement protocol and were not directed or approved by our Chief Administration Officer. If I understand the engagement protocol correctly, individual members of council are not authorized to directly engage with a township lawyer. If that is correct, how is it possible that individual members of this council and, quote, Springwater people, quote, as noted in the invoice, were able to incur billable hours with the law firm? Is this not a misuse of township funds? As a resident and taxpayer, I'm deeply concerned, and I know many others are as well. Springwater residents will look forward to an explanation.
Thank you. Our next question, name and address, please. And as noted, you have 3 minutes, and at 1 minute remaining, the microphone will appear red.
Heidi McElwain, 1434 Floss Road 7 East. Barry Today wrote in December of 2025 that they'd reached out to all members of council to ask whether they had sought legal counsel from Loopstra Nixon regarding the invoice on tonight's agenda. All but Deputy Mayor Cabral and Councillor Fisher said they had not. The invoice detail confirms that Deputy Mayor Cabral did engage directly with the firm. Councillor Fisher introduced a very detailed motion on November 10th, and multiple entries related to a motion appear on the invoice on November 9th and 10th. I wonder if Councillor Fisher will now confirm that he engaged with Loopstra Nixon and that it was they who drafted his November 10th motion at his direction. Additionally, there is an entry on the invoice via telephone conference with a councillor to review a motion on November 11th. It was Councillor Alexander who introduced the next motion on November 12th, which included rehiring Loopstra Nixon. As Councillor Alexander told Barry Today she had not engaged directly with the law firm, could she confirm where the motion she introduced originated from? Finally, while both Councillors Moore and Alexander said that they had not directly engaged with Loopstra Nixon, could they both confirm whether they were aware of the ongoing engagements between Deputy Mayor Cabral and Councillor Fisher with the firm?
And our next presenter, our next question, please, unless I'm.
Excuse me.
Again, you have 3 minutes, and with 1 minute remaining, the microphone will appear red.
Okay. Rick Crook, 716 St. Vincent Street. I read the reports, both reports cover to cover. My last name is Crook, and I'm in the car business. I've been a car dealer for over 40 years. So that's kind of a funny thing. It makes people say sometimes off the cuff things about you. And when somebody says something about me and I hear it, I call the person who said it and I said, "Did you say this about me?" And they say, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, what was the context? And why would you say that about me?" And, and they make an excuse and I would ask for apology or I'd accept whatever they had to say. It wouldn't be $29,000 to do an inquiry at my expense. The other thing is too, is we're talking about integrity. I was there last year with Paul Sadlin Sr. when we got a phone call that 3 days before the golf tournament, Springwater Swings, where the money goes to a very good cause, pulled out. Paul Sadlin Sr. says they said, "You won't get any credit for this. Geranium's already got the credit," which is tantamount to me sponsoring your kids' hockey team, getting all the jerseys made up with Geranium on them, and all of a sudden, 3 days before, "No, I'm not paying for the shirts, and I'm not paying for anything. And you're on your own, baby." Paul Sadlin, he ponied up, put money in, I put money in, and we might as well have been anonymous. But I mean, that's integrity. The integrity of somebody sponsoring something, whether it's team sports, a golf tournament, whatever, and then all of a sudden pulling out 3 or 4 days and we say, "We're not paying for it," even though we're getting all the credit for it. That shows a lack of integrity as far as I'm concerned, and maybe a financial irresponsibility as far as I'm concerned. And the other, going back to Matt Garwood, I mean, that's ridiculous. Everybody had the opportunity to go in, write their little article in the newspaper and engage with people. I really like the fact Doug Shipley's there every week. And even the owner's daughter says, these articles are written, we edit them, we look at them. These are not for personal gain. I have 1 minute or I'm done.
1 minute.
1 minute. And I won't even get into the Quinta Annabelle bills because we don't have time here. We all want to go home before tomorrow morning. So everybody have a great summer. And I really appreciate, you guys taking your time and your energy to be councillors and mayors and deputy mayors. And I really appreciate the people coming and being engaged, whether they agree with me or they don't agree with me. Everybody has a point of view and that's a good thing. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Next, your name, address. And as stated, there are 3 minutes permitted per question, and at the 1 minute mark, my microphone will be red.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Caleb Brome, 16 Archer Crescent. First off, I want to shout out the Springwater United Soccer Association, township staff, council, and relevant stakeholders for making the soccer field and organization happen. I think that's amazing. As a father myself with young children, big supporter of increased recreation around the township.
My question's for staff, and I apologize for not submitting before the meeting. I didn't come here expecting to ask any questions. I generally think we're lucky to have the staff we have. You do an amazing job, and I don't intend to have any gotcha questions tonight. However, I was really surprised by the earlier delegation, given tonight's agenda and the divide of council. I think everyone here is aware of that. And as Mayor Coughlin and CAO Ainsworth have stated at previous councils, this is not an opportunity to campaign for or against anybody with the upcoming election. With that being said, for staff, 2 quick questions. I'm wondering if it's appropriate for a resident corporation delegation to come forward and so explicitly and repeatedly name drop specific members of council and candidates. And is it appropriate for councilors to similarly explicitly thank a candidate who was previously running in their current ward but dropped out to run in an adjacent ward that they actually don't live in?
I'm going to
Thank you.
disallow the. Thank you. Further comments and questions, come on forward.
Morning, Dan Clement, 15 Riverview Court in Elmville. I'm coming here tonight, hearing a comment earlier. I've sat on the maple syrup board in Elmville for the last 29 years. For approximately 10 years, I've been vice president. Councillor Moore made a comment this evening that the Geranium have sponsored our community events. I'd just like to ask her, can you explain what donations they've made? I'm unaware of what they've donated. I'm just curious to know what context that was made under.
And appreciate the question. I am sure that Councillor Moore will work with our CAO to
Thank you.
get that to you. Thank you. Your name, address, and again, you have 3 minutes, and with 1 minute remaining, the microphone will turn.
I'm only going to need a second. It's Paul Sadlin at 866 St. Vincent Street. I just want to reiterate, I think, hearing tonight about Rule 4.1, that, councils should conduct themselves to those same standards for everyone. We try and hold everyone to a certain standard, and you try and hold yourselves to certain standards. Over the past 12 months, what I've witnessed here has not been anywhere close to that in a lot of cases. And a lot of people that are pointing fingers should realize that the old schoolyard saying that when you point one finger, 4 point back at you. So I think some of the people that are on this council need to look within themselves and realize that their actions have not necessarily been held to the standard of that 4.1.
Thank you for your comment. That's completed, but we will. And I remind the gallery this evening that cheers and jeers are not within the decorum that was requested of this council. Any further comments or questions? Not seeing any. At this time, I will ask. Before we do move on to item 9.1, we will take a break and return. What time do I return at? We will return at 8:30. Members of council, staff, and public, we will reconvene to item number 9, which is our minutes. May I have a mover and seconder for the minutes, please? Councillor Fisher and Councillor Moore, that the minutes of council listed herein be approved as presented. 1 is the minutes of the regular meeting of council, June 17th, 2026. 2 is the minutes of the special meeting of council, June 17th, 2026. 3 is the minutes of the special meeting of council closed session of June 17th, 2026. 4 is the minutes of the special meeting of council, June 17th, 2026. 5 is the minutes of the special meeting of council closed session of June 17th, 2026. 8 is the minutes of the special meeting of council, June 18th, 2026. And 7 is the minutes of the special meeting of council closed session, June 18th, 2026. Are there any questions on these minutes? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. Item 9.3, a mover and seconder for the board, committee, and organizations. Councillors Thompson and Fisher, that the minutes of the boards, committees, and other organizations listed herein be received for information. 1 is the minutes of the Elmvale District High School Donation Fund Ad Hoc Committee meeting of March 12th, 2026, and 2 is the minutes of the Cultural and Heritage Advisory Committee meeting of April 13th, 2026. Any comments or questions on these minutes? All those in favor? And that has carried. Item number 10 is correspondence. May I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Garwood and Councillor Alexander, that the memo, the City of Barrie Boundary Adjustment, release of invoices, Township of Springwater, June 25th, 2026, be received for information. Comments or questions on this item, please? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a question, and I'm not sure whether this goes to Mayor Coughlin or to our acting deputy, our acting CAO Ainsworth. In this invoicing, there's a line that identifies that Loopster Nixon was meeting with a group of Springwater people. We have confirmed and identified that that was not staff. And I know that we had asked Loopster Nixon for more clarification on that line item as to who actually those people were that they were engaging with, that they were billing us for. Did we ever get a clear answer as to who Springwater people are in that?
CAO Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And no, there's been no further clarification received.
Follow
on?
Also, with regarding to this memo, there's a great deal of public interest about the memo. I thank the members of the public that came up tonight to ask questions. And I would like to reiterate the question from Ms. Beck and Ms. Ackelwain, one to Councillor Fisher, who wrote the memo, because it seems to be, or wrote the motion that was presented in council, because it seems to be identified in the in this invoicing. And 2, we know that the deputy mayor was one of the members of the subsection of council that was dealing with Loopster Nixon. And if it was Councillor Moore and Alexander, or if they had knowledge that other members of council and Springwater people were engaging with Loopster Nixon, if those questions could be answered, it would be helpful to me and to the public to get to the bottom of it and to know the truth about this.
Councillor Fisher, Councillor Alexander, McCormick.
Well, I actually see a certain subsection of council. I think that's a bit of a stretch. As for the engagement with Loopster Nixon last year, I do not recall. However, I think that you're focusing on a small portion of the overall release, Councillor Thompson. As a matter of fact, it's a bit of a political shell game. There are a lot of questions after reading this report and the release of these documents. There's more than just billing from Loopster Nixon. As a matter of fact, there's quite a bit of legal billing that I was unaware of. As a matter of fact, moving through it, let's not think that there's only a few bills from Loopster Nixon. The other thing that actually I find particularly perplexing is we have 2 other organizations, Sussex Strategies and Gazalt Communications. And, we talk about spending and how we need to know where money goes and where what we're spending taxpayers' money on. What exactly were those organizations doing for us? And it seems like they're being billed through another legal firm. I don't really know the answers to these questions, but I certainly think that some sort of audit or delving into exactly what the billing was, right? And not just this subsection of council, as you put it. Bit of supposition in your question, sir.
Councillor Alexander?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Councillor Thompson, Ms. McElwain, I can unequivocally confirm that I did not have conversations with Loopster Nixon outside of this chambers. So infer what you may, but I can tell you I did not, and I will stand by that 100%. I will let other people respond before I have other questions to speak.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. While I understand this conversation has been one that the public has been rightfully interested in for some time now, the same questions continue to be asked and they continue to not be answered. That is not being directed at any one member because we don't actually know unequivocally who those members are, understanding that according to the Barrie Today article from December 2025, 5 members of council, and I'm just going to clarify because this is directly from the article, Councillor Moore, Councillor Thompson, Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Alexander, and myself, Councillor Garwood, were the 5 that responded and advised that we had not communicated with Loopster Nixon outside of this chamber, which is correct, which is accurate, which is the process in which we are supposed to follow as members of council, understanding that we have to follow rules of engagement. We have to follow a procedural bylaw, and we all understand. It was one of the first things we learned when we were brought in for training in 2022 was how we can spend and execute taxpayer dollars, and that is by a vote at this table. Again, the question continues to be, and again, understanding the procurement bylaw, individual members of council are not authorized, as it was asked earlier on, to directly engage township legal counsel. If that is correct, how are individual members of council, again, reference in the invoice, able to incur billable hours with a law firm, any law firm, Loopster Nixon or the other law firms that we have had? It is no different. It is not specific to this individual company. Loopster Nixon is irrelevant in this conversation. The conversation is not about the law firm. The conversation is about appropriate use of taxpayer dollars. I, along with many members of this council, have been accused by other members of this council over the last 4 years of inappropriate use of taxpayer dollars. This is not me accusing any one member. This is public articles and multiple questions. Multiple people in this audience tonight have sent me emails seeking clarification as to how their money, not our money, their money has been utilized. I understand that if I want to seek legal advice, I have 3 paths, and this is the same for all 7 of us. I could seek legal advice myself on my own dime. 2, I could request a special meeting of council, either through the mayor or through a petition of council, and request legal be in attendance. Or 3, I could bring forth direction to this table to permit members to seek individual advice. None of those 3 things happened. Never. Unless I am aware of an independent legal bill that has been occurred, that if that's the case, then the taxpayer should not be paying the portion of this bill that has been paid. It should be absorbed by the individual member who sought the advice. Understanding we're beyond that now, the bill has been paid and it has been released, which it should have been released months ago. But regardless, through the mayor to CAO Ainsworth, can you please outline the township's procurement bylaw and advise what rules and regulations, whether it be in that bylaw or another through the municipal act potentially, that outlines how members of council are permitted to execute spending of municipal dollars?
CAO Ainsworth?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just in general terms, council acts as a body and provides direction by majority of council. That is the basis amongst the regulations within the Municipal Act. The township's procurement bylaw speaks to the dollars and cents, where procurement limits are provided with authority to staff, how procurement is to take place, and that is a bylaw of council. So in general terms, council provides direction as its authority through the Municipal Act, and then the procurement bylaw provides staff the direction and authorities for procuring of goods on behalf of the township and on behalf of council direction.
Follow on.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you, CEO Ainsworth, for that outline. And stemming back to a question that, or a comment that Councillor Fisher made regarding other invoices, you are completely correct. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 additional invoices, additional companies or consultant firms that did work related to the legislated Barrie boundary adjustment. Interesting enough, Loopster Nixon's legal fees equate to almost exactly half of that total. That is $207,000. $165.30 out of the total $416,288.90. No one is claiming that we did not spend a significant amount of money on consultants, firms, legal advice, engineering firms, etc. Again, we required professional advice. That is completely fine, whether it be from Loopster Nixon or Ainley Consulting or the many other firms that we have partnered with. Again, the focus is not on the individual firm. The focus is on the fact that a very simple question has been asked multiple times. And I'm not going to direct a question to the Deputy Mayor because he's not here this evening to answer that question. But the Deputy Mayor is mentioned very clearly in the invoice. So I don't question whether or not the Deputy Mayor sought independent advice, because he did. It's in the invoice that Loopster Nixon provided. It's not our invoice. They sent it to us. Councillor Fisher, I think it's a pretty straightforward question to be able to answer to the residents. Did you speak with Loopster Nixon or any other legal firm directly following the November 7th, I believe it was, dissolution of partnership with them? And it could have been before either, because regardless, we did not have direction before or after they were our lawyer. I would respectfully request a response.
Absolutely.
Councillor Fisher.
Respectfully, Councillor Garwood, quite honestly, it's some time ago. I can't exactly remember if I had engagement with them.
And I'm going to remind the gallery.
No.
I'm going to remind.
I'll answer the question, guys. Yeah.
And I'm going to refrain from addressing the gallery. I'm going to ask that the quorum of the gallery remain respectful. I will continue with Councillor Fisher. I do have Councillor Moore as well.
Again, respectfully, I will have to look into that if I had engaged them in any way. As a matter of fact, I know that they were our lawyers previous to being fired under Strong Mayors, under the Strong Mayors Act. Anyway, once again, I do feel like we're getting away from the overall billing and a few of the major items here in terms of the billing from Benetti, for example. I just want to go back to our procurement bylaw. Mr. Benetti, I don't ever remember acquiring his services as a council. So we're talking about Loopster Nixon. We keep going back to it, and that's okay. I don't mind the questions, to be honest with you. However, I think we're getting away from the overall billing and the question of whether we as a council acquired Mr. Benetti's services. I don't ever remember voting on that. And once again, I bring up the services of Sussex Strategies and Gazelle Communications. These were not to help. If you take a look at these companies, these were not to help with our legal advice. As a matter of fact, I never had any engagement with these two companies. They were engaged at a municipal level, and we never voted on them as a council to acquire their services. As a matter of fact, if you look at their services, I would argue that maybe we use taxpayers' money, not we, right? But Springwater used taxpayers' service money to acquire the services of strategy groups to essentially craft propaganda against, to curb their opinions about annexation. So, maybe some people acquired, or maybe some people engaged the services of our lawyer. And as a matter of fact, I believe Lubster Nixon even sent an email saying that they still considered themselves our lawyer under the procurement laws. So, you know, I thank you for your question, Mr. Garwood, but at the same time, I think there's a lot more questions that are arising from the release of these, and we are playing a political shell game in completely and solely focusing on the billing of Lubster Nixon. There's a lot more in this to be taking a look at.
Thank you. Before I do go to Councillor Moore, CEO Ainsworth, can you speak to the appropriateness of staff engaging legal and advice and whether it needs to come to council every single time or if staff has the authority to engage?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Within the annual budget, there's a variety of legal accounts that are available for staff use, township use. And depending on the topic, staff seek legal advice for a variety of reasons. It's not always a direction of council. We could be working on a project, on a report that requires a legal lens, a legal review, and staff do engage various legal firms based on their specialty for those various pieces. And I did want to mention, my apologies, when I did answer Councillor Garwood's question earlier, I did fail to mention there is the provisions within the Municipal Act. However, there are the additional provisions of strong mayor's powers that give additional authority to the mayor in accordance with that. So that piece does need to be looked at on its own and within its own regulations.
Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just to the question that was posed earlier, no, I have not spoken to Lubster Nixon. I reiterate that once again.
Councillor Alexander? And your microphone, thank you.
Sorry. So two things. There's a general spin sometimes that certain members of council have not wanted to release these legal bills. You're nodding, Councillor Thompson, because I know you're the one that loves to say this. We as a council, and CAO Ainsworth can correct me if I'm wrong, but it is my firm recollection that we unanimously voted to release the bills once the invoices were paid. There were discrepancies potentially in some invoices, and we felt that it was not appropriate to release those invoices until the final amount was paid. So all members of this council have been very transparent in saying we need to release these to the public. And did Lubster Nixon take maybe too long? Maybe, but that's not in this council's control. So I wanted to just point that out because the spin out there is not correct. Now, back to my questions or my concerns. I do have some concerns around the Affleck Green McMurdy invoice. They involve what Councillor Fisher has referred to. There are multiple pages of billing lines that reference communication strategy with both, with both Gestalt Communications and Sussex Strategy Group. Gestalt Communications, $20,000+. Just a couple little lines from the billing, which is public, review communication strategy and a joint statement, email with clients and Gestalt RE media request response. Sussex Strategy Group. I'm questioning, is there another bill coming? Because in the line items, it speaks to a retainer, and I do not see a bill from Sussex Strategy on there. I do want to point out just a couple things so people understand. Gestalt Communications, and I'm reading directly from their website. Public relations, building and protecting reputations through strategy, trust, and influential public presence. Public affairs, guiding and advocating across government, policy, and public opinion to achieve results. Sussex, we are proud to be Canada's premier public affairs firm. Sussex is your partner, transforming challenges into opportunities and strategy into success. These are clearly PR firms. So I am seeing these for the same time that you guys saw them. I had no clue. This council had no clue we had engaged public relation firms. So I have two questions to CAO Ainsworth. The first one is, why is the township engaging and paying for a public relations firm when we have our own very capable communications department? And what were those what were the discussions around?
Yale. Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The firm Gestalt was engaged through legal AGM as part of the Strong Mayor's decision from November regarding retaining a legal firm. As part of that, the discussion with the strategic communications firm was in relation to communications regarding the city of Barrie matter. I was involved in some of the discussions, and it was really surrounding the township's communications regarding unfortunately, the controversy that was taking place regarding the city of Barrie matter at the time.
Just to add context, I believe the joint release that you're speaking to was with the city of Barrie and the township of Springwater. And at the time, it was determined that it would be best suited with an outside firm and not our internal communications.
Thank you both for answering the question. I personally, as a member of this council and a taxpayer, have a huge issue with using taxpayers' dollars to create a communication piece, which is a spin. Because that's what public relations firms do. That's what they're there for. We all should know this. To create a spin on a very controversial issue to make this council and our mayor, who used her strong mayor power, appear better in a light. So I have a huge issue with that. My second question, is it normal practice for third-party bills to be billed through a legal bill? And for context, I'm going to use Weird Folds, Mr. Engel, because that is the most common lawyer that we have had up here. Does he submit bills from a third party that this council had no idea was being engaged? And that, sorry, again, is to CAO Ainsworth.
CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I might ask Director Bedard to comment on billing. I'm unaware specifically of Weirfolds and having third-party contractors or consultants billed through them. Director Bedard, do you know of any other instances where this might have taken place with the township?
Director Bedard?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other instances in general. If a contractor of the township were to retain a subcontractor, we may not necessarily see that invoice directly.
Following?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So we speak up here all the time about transparency. This is the absolute opposite of transparency, to engage a communication firm without council's knowledge and hide it in a legal bill.
I have Councillor Garwood and then Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a couple questions on that. Again, I'm glad we're having this conversation because this is the purpose of this discussion. Like I said, the conversation is not about Loopster Nixon. It's about the complete use, the complete funds that were dedicated towards the legislated boundary adjustment matter. Again, you can also see it as shifting away from the original topic of the conversation, but regardless, I'm glad we're having the conversation. I think we do need to clarify two pieces though. And through the mayor to the CAO, you might have already mentioned it, but can you speak in more detail regarding the authorization either the office of the mayor or the office of the CAO has regarding seeking counsel, outside firms, expenses, etc., comparative to the 6 of us? I'm leaving the mayor out of the conversation here, the deputy mayor and 5 councillors, what our authority is, because I understand, again, I cannot seek that individually, but I also understand that the office of the CAO can incur those expenses. Can you speak to the difference between what I can do and what you can do.
And before I do go to COA Ainsworth, and while he's very capable of answering all of these questions, I am noticing an element of political target at the table this evening, and it's from every direction. I'm not pointing fingers. COA Ainsworth has spoke to this. She has suggested that the office of the CAO and the office of the mayor have the authorization to do so. I think that it has been asked and answered. But it's completely up to you whether you want to, if you have any other information to. Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and it is not my intention to politicize from a staff lens, so I apologize if that was the case. Understanding Mayor Coughlin has just clarified the process. While members of council might disagree, and again, I'm also seeing the invoice for the first time. Whether you agree or disagree with the process, this is not a new process. This is not a strong mayor process. This is the legislation, from what I understand, that's probably granted through the Municipal Act that permits the office of the CAO to execute certain powers. You and I, as members of council, or Councillor Alexander, do not have that authority. So that is what the question continues to be. The question, we can question every invoice. I'm glad to sit here all night and do it. Let's go. But that still does not answer my question and multiple members of this public's question and the questions that Councillor Thompson has asked and the questions that Mayor Coughlin has asked through to the minister. Again, once again, the $207,000 that was spent, which is half of the Barrie boundary adjustment matters. I'm not talking $20,000. I'm talking $207,000. I'm not claiming that one member of council absorbed that cost. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a portion of that, a portion that I don't even know what that number is. And I'm privy to this information, as the public is now as well. That is the question that continues to be asked. I'm not looking to go to the integrity commissioner. I'm not looking to utilize this for any purpose of the simple fact that these questions have been asked for 6 months now. This is not new. This is not intended to be about an election. This question was asked back in December and January of last year and early this year. My question continues to remain. So again, from a process perspective, through the mayor to the CAO, can you please advise who administers oversight to ensure appropriate use of municipal funds? Is that the Office of the Integrity Commissioner? Is that a Municipal Act matter? I'm just seeking clarification.
CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The Office of the Integrity Commissioner would have oversight. The Township's Code of Conduct states that a member of council and a member of a local board shall follow all of the policies and procedures, bylaws of the township. That would be one avenue. The Ombudsman's Office, depending on the nature, may also provide an avenue for that matter as well.
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Last follow-on on this matter. Thank you for the clarification. And I ask not because it should be utilized as a weapon. My statements from twice from earlier this evening remain consistent. I do not believe that we should utilize those tools. It's a cost to the taxpayer. And God knows we don't need to spend any more money when it comes to the $207,000 bill that already exists today regarding this matter. But again, I think the taxpayers deserve, and I'm respectfully going to continue to ask the question until it's either answered tonight or I'll ask it in September once again. The reality is residents expect an answer. We have had 2 integrity commissioner complaints on the agenda today that speaks to questioning integrity, questioning ethics, questioning comments, questioning values. Well, these are all completely understandable questions to be asked, whether we agree or disagree with the outcomes. Those same questions and same characteristics exist when it comes to the oversight of $207,000 worth of municipal invoices. Again, it is a very simple question. I answered it. Councillor Alexander answered it. Mayor Coughlin answered it. Councillor Thompson answered it. Councillor Moore answered it. We know the deputy mayor's perspective because it's in the motion directly. So that leaves one. And it's not my intention, Councillor Fisher, but I've asked the question and my constituents have asked the question. The Barrie boundary adjustment matter was significantly challenging for everybody. That is not a secret. And I am not interested in back and forth with you all evening because it's a yes or no. Yes, did you, or no, did you not?
Counselor Fisher.
Well, Mr. Garwood, you're being very skillful at bringing it back to your talking points. It's gearing up for an election, I guess. However, I think that all of the funds that were spent on annexation and all of the legal bills were in fact born of annexation. We never would have spent any of this money, not $1, if it wasn't for annexation, something we never should have done. As a matter of fact, Loopstra Nixon, actually, our lawyer, by the way, said we should not be doing this. They were promptly fired. They were our lawyers. You keep on comparing their bill, their $200 and some odd thousand. That's for years of work that they did for us. I'm looking at this other legal bill that really just seems to be a short period of time, months really. I'm seeing $76,000. If I look at value for money in terms of our legal billing, I would actually say that we got a bit of a bargain from Loopstra Nixon. Anyway, that being said, I'll bring it back to my talking point. I would like to know what the true nature of Sussex and Gazalt, what was the true nature of the work that they did for us? We've heard that they are a PR firm. When it comes to our legal billing, I expect to be paying for a lawyer, not paying a PR firm through a lawyer. Talked about shell games tonight. That seems like it's something that would fit that description. I just want to read one line here, right? Since we're not supposed to speak individually to lawyers, various emails and calls with J. Coughlin, S. Forfar, R. Ainsworth, J. Bessinger, J. long name, I won't even attempt it, D. Donaldo, M. Benetti, right, the lawyer that I can't remember hiring, regarding the update with Sussex retainers and the next steps for the deal. What deal is that? So, you know, as much as you want to go back to Loopstra Nixon time and time again, I think there's a lot more to focus on. We can focus on the whole thing, frankly, and I think you've said that. We can focus on the whole thing. I would actually think that a thorough audit would probably be a smart thing to do. But there's certainly billing in here that I'm sure the taxpayer would definitely question. I'm certainly questioning it. A PR firm or a lawyer? Which one did we get? Looks like we got both. We didn't ask for it.
Before I turn to other members of council, the discussion this evening and the fact that my name also appears in those invoices
A few times.
was done so with authority. As outlined by CAO Ainsworth, with authority, not outside the authority that I have been given, with authority, in collaboration with staff and in preparation for what we have all agreed is the most significant thing to ever happen in our term and to Springwater. So in preparation and to ensure that we were taking the proper steps, guidance was sought. That's the bills that you're seeing this evening. They were not accrued outside the authority of my office or the office of the CAO. Further questions? Oh, Councillor Moore, did I skip you or?
Yeah.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. I did happen to have the Integrity Commissioner responsibilities in my paperwork this evening. It does say that they do not investigate or audit municipal finances. So it wouldn't be the Integrity Commissioner that would be looking at a forensic audit, for instance, if that were to be requested. That would have to be an external accounting firm, I think. Okay.
And if I can just have a point of clarification on that. ICs do not investigate financials, but they do investigate the misappropriation of taxpayer dollars by members of council. Councillor.
Thank you. Would that be criminal? Because it says they don't do criminal. So would misappropriation of funds be considered criminal? Just asking.
CAO Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Integrity commissioners investigate code of conduct complaints or potential breaches. Within the code of conduct and within the legislation, it does state that the integrity commissioner, through their investigation, if they are to come across a matter that could be criminal, they are to refer that matter to the appropriate body, whether it be the police, the courts, whatnot. So while the integrity commissioner wouldn't investigate, they could initiate the movement of that investigation to a higher body for enforcement, for investigation.
Councillor Thompson, Councillor Garwood.
Just Mayor Coughlin, just a clarification of Councillor Fisher's comments about Loopster Nixon. We hadn't engaged them for years. That this was not a bill over years. We introduced Loopster Nixon into this, I believe it was in May of 2025 when Councillor Moore asked for them by name on a motion. And this bill goes from May to November of that year. So it's about the billing of the $207,000 is over a period of about 6 months.
Before we go into debate amongst we do have professional and Director Bedard, can we speak to the billing date of the invoices provided to council, please? CAO Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Within the billing, there is an invoice from November of 2024. Council did have Loopster Nixon in a closed session to provide an overview of annexation, boundary adjustments, whatnot. That stemmed from Loopster Nixon being retained in August of 2024. Then the next time they were engaged was commencing in May of 2025, and that continued on throughout the rest of 2025.
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Back to a comment that Councillor Fisher made around a forensic audit. I think that's the best thing you've said all night. I think that's great. I think absolutely we should have a forensic audit, and it should include all details, all $416,000 regarding the invoices associated with the Barrie boundary adjustment that was legislated by the province, including the $207,000 from Loopster Nixon. So I think that's more than fair. If you put a motion on the floor, I'd be happy to second it because, again, I think those questions continue to arise. Springwater people, individual members of council, regardless of the time, whether it be a year and a half or whether it be 6 months, there was still legal advice sought. That was not directed by this council. That was not directed by the office of the mayor. That was not directed by the office of the CAO. It's that simple. We can have concerns about individual invoices and how they were funneled through lawyers and legal representatives and then came to council or didn't come to council through strong mayor legislation. I'm happy to have that conversation all day because it's worth having a conversation. That's fine. That's transparency. And I think apart from our disagreements, I think this council has done its level best to be as transparent as possible on this matter. So if we want to continue that same comment, I believe you made it earlier, Councillor Alexander, about the importance of transparency. Let's continue to do that. Let's get our legal audit and let's determine who Springwater people are and who individual members of council have cost the taxpayers money, because I can tell you for sure, I've never called any lawyer individually on behalf of this corporation.
Councillor Garwood, I appreciate your sentiment. I will not support. I'm happy to sign an affidavit or do whatever it is that you want me to do, but we are sitting here complaining about the amount. If it's an internal investigation or if it's something that we can do without costing taxpayers, like the three questions are there to be answered. Whether you like my name in there or not, or whether you like these people being hired or not, they were done so with authority delegated, whether it's delegated to my office, delegated to the CAO. It was done with authority delegated. So if there's going to be an internal investigation, I'm happy to participate just as I've been happy to participate in every internal investigation about everything that's happened with this that has come up with the same answer. I just think that the truth, anyway, I don't want to spend any more money, but if this is what it's going to take, then sure. Councillor Alexander.
Sorry, Mayor Coughlin. I just wanted to ensure you understand. I'm not questioning your authority to make those decisions. I understand under strong mayor power, you pretty much have superpowers. And I do not agree with those. However, I do respect you have the ability to use those. So I am not inferring that you were not, it was not in your purview to use them. I just have a huge issue and disagreement with your choice on how you use them in that scenario, but I'm not disagreeing with your ability to use them.
Anything further on this issue? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. We're moving now on to item 10.2, a mover and seconder. This is opposition to changes, and I do believe, Councillor Alexander, before we go through all this, I'm just going to turn to the clerk for, is there a reason why we couldn't defer this until the deputy, or was it requested that it be dealt with this evening? COA?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. While we were in the meeting, the deputy mayor has requested his notice of motion later on the agenda to be deferred to the September meeting. This motion does not have a time limit attached to it as the legislation is already passed. I would assume that the deputy mayor would be okay with this also being deferred unless a member of council wished to bring it forward on his behalf. But I do know he was pretty passionate about this matter.
Councillor Alexander?
So I'm fine if this is deferred. When I spoke with the deputy mayor earlier this afternoon, it was simply to request that I read his two statements on the IC reports. This was not brought up, so I'm fine. Defer.
Council, at this time, I would be seeking a motion to defer. Councillor Garwood, Councillor Alexander? We don't need it. And we are now moving on to item 11. May I have a mover and seconder for correspondence regarding the Elmvale BIA video project? Councillor Garwood, Councillor Alexander, that the correspondence and Elmvale BI video project Welcome Elmvale be received as information. Comments or questions? Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. On a bit of a lighter note, this is a really exciting project that the Elmvale BIA has been working on for over a year now. In a moment, there's going to be a video that comes on the screen. It's a couple minutes long, so bear with us as we go through it. But the project is titled Welcome to Elmvale. It's created in collaboration with the Township of Springwater, the Floss Agricultural Society, the Elmvale Maple Syrup Festival, and of course, the Elmvale BIA. And this project celebrates the people, businesses, traditions, and experience that make Elmvale such a special place to live, work, visit, and explore. From unique shops, restaurants, and professional dining services to talented local artisans, community events, and beloved festivals, Elmvale offers something for everyone. So please enjoy the video, which was a year in the making. Welcome to Elmvale. Come discover all the treasures that the village of Elmvale has to offer. From the unique shops, restaurants, and professional services to our local artisans, to the exciting events and festivals we create and host. Originally known as Elm Flats, downtown Elmvale has been a lively center of activity for almost 2 centuries. From June through to August, join us for local food, fun, and entertainment as our town hosts the Elmvale Farmers Market. To be a part of our market, you have to make it, bake it, or grow it. Enjoy a fine selection of in-season produce, crafts, homemade gifts, baked goods, and of course, maple syrup.
Speaking of maple syrup, Elmvale is the proud home of the Elmvale Maple Syrup Festival. Since 1966, this annual celebration has blossomed into one of the largest festivals of its kind in Ontario. Each year, crowds of over 30,000 people attend this one-day event, rain or shine, sleet or snow. Our visitors stroll the community, exploring, sampling, and tasting, as well as buying maple syrup products and other amazing items for sale. The Maple Syrup Festival funds community-minded projects in the Elmvale area. fulfilling the mission statement of contributing to the physical, intellectual, cultural, emotional, or spiritual well-being of our community. Taking care of each other, that's why people love living in a small town. It's a sense of community, and Elmville is an active community that not only boasts rich history, but offers a wealth of summer recreational opportunities, from baseball, pickleball, biking, splash pads and swimming, to lush parks and trails. And we're not just about beautiful flowering baskets, bike nights, and memorial banners. When the chilly weather blows in, snowmobiling is a popular pastime, and the OFSC trails go right through Elmville. Other winter activities include hockey, skating, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, and, of course, curling.
Just south of town is the Elmville Jungle Zoo, originally founded in 1967 on 2 acres and showcasing mainly birds and reptiles. Today, the zoo spans 25 acres and is home to more than 300 animals from around the world. For over 150 years, we have been celebrating our legacy and our agricultural roots at our annual Fall Fair. Hosted on Thanksgiving weekend in October, thousands of guests pour in to enjoy the sights and sounds of the Midway and everyone's favorite, the tractor pull.
And come the festive season, the village of Elmville rallies together to share joy, generosity, and tradition with the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, sleigh rides, the Santa Claus parade, and the incredibly popular Elmville Christmas Night Market. 2 festive nights packed with live music, carolers, snacks, warm drinks, and 50-plus local vendors. Wander under the lights, enjoy the coziest small town Christmas vibes, all in support of the Elmville Food Bank. Elmville has so much to offer, a place to live, work, and play. Come and visit and then stay to create your own story of Elmville.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thanks for watching that. Every time I think members of the BIA watch that again, we get a big smile on our face. So again, it was a labor of love. The voices that you hear there, many are local business owners and volunteers with the Elmville BIA. Like I said, this was over a year. Many different funding partners, including the municipality through the Ward 1 Discretionary Fund, went to support this initiative. So we're hoping to show it anywhere and everywhere. It's got some pretty great traction online. I think it would be a great addition to our lobby TV as well. And we'll continue to promote it because, as we know, Springwater is the best place to live, work, and play.
Thank you, Councillor Garwood. I'm not seeing anything further from members of council. This is just to be received for information. All those in favor? And that has carried. Moving on now to item 11.2, a mover and seconder for the committee memo regarding the Elmville District High School Donation Fund. I'll go to Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood. And that's the memo from the Elmville District High School Donation Fund and Ad Hoc Committee regarding funding recommendation EDHS Fit Trail Park be received, and that council hereby support the request from the Elmville District High School Donation Fund Ad Hoc Committee to allocate an upset limit of $185,215.44 towards the Fit Trail on the EDHS property from the EDHS fundraising efforts account. And at this time, I will turn to the members. Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. As this has continued to be a big part of this council's term, one of the first actions that Councillor Alexander and I took was to ensure that the community was well aware of the history of the Elmville District High School Donation Fund, its purpose, its backstory, and staff did an excellent job through Director Culver and his team to gather that information and provide it not only to council but to the public. A big topic of conversation from many members of the community has been why the funds hadn't been utilized. And while we could sit here and talk about those reasons for quite a while, we made it a priority to ensure that those funds were utilized as they were initially intended to do. and hence the EDHS Donation Fund Ad Hoc Committee, which Councillor Alexander and I both proudly sit on. Throughout the committee's mandate was to execute the investment and spending of roughly $250,000 that was raised through community donations, local businesses, not only from within Springwater, but from within the region during the EDHS facility upgrade. That funding has come back to this council multiple times now for execution, whether it be volleyball nets or gym equipment, weight room equipment, etc. Those are all items that the committee has, I believe, unanimously endorsed and brought to this council, and I believe we have unanimously endorsed. This is the final project that this committee is bringing forward. The remaining funds are roughly $185,000, which the total of this project is $185,000 and change. I'll let Councillor Alexander speak to what the project is, and we will bring it up on screen here in a moment to provide a bit more information. But we're really excited about this addition. The goal here with this Fit Trail, and again, we'll speak to that in a moment, is for it to be what was initially intended with those funds, which is direct community benefit. We worked with the school board, we worked with EDHS, faculty, and the principal, along with ourselves and community members as well. And I think something that is so important is receiving the support from the individual and individuals that initially advocated for the funds, and that is Mr. George Allen. George is a proud member of our committee, a proud member of the Elmvale community, and has put his whole heart and soul into endorsing this initiative. And I say that because that was my first question. I will only support it if George supports it, because he's the one that advocated. He's the one that fought for that school. He's the one that got those funds, along with help. Don't get me wrong, but he was the face behind it. So I'll pass it to Councillor Alexander to speak a bit about the benefits and how this space will be open to not only the school, but the community as well.
Councillor Alexander?
Thank you, Councillor Garwood. And do we have, yes. So just quickly, to further Councillor Garwood's points, Mr. Allen was the face behind this. He is an amazing man. He is a very opinionated man. So again, his support of this initiative was important to me as well. It also, I was happy to see, we did a couple smaller projects as the committee kind of got their feet wet, but I was happy to see a larger project given the dollar amount of the funds available. It was nice to be able to move forward with this proposed fitness park. It has a number of different pieces of equipment, if you will. It is outside, which allows use not only by the school, but as well by the community. There's a lot of different benefits. It really checked all the boxes for me. So yeah, I was very happy to see this brought forward. And hopefully, I'm hoping that we can unanimously support this at this council table as well.
And if there are any more slides, if we could. Oh, Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you, Councillor Alexander, for the overview. Yes, so obviously this is a kind of an above view or side view, depending upon which device you're looking at. Think of it as fitness equipment, but it's in place. It's not movable. It is not similar to what we have at Bishop Park in Elmvale, which is actual like outdoor fitness equipment. This is more parkour style. We have spoken to some of the local businesses through the BIA, and some of the excitement was running fitness classes and community opportunities, and maybe there's a camp opportunity to use the space, obviously permitted. It's not during the school day when the school would have access. We've also talked about signage as well, the importance of outlining that the school's belief is that the schoolyard and the school space should be a community space. We have partnered exceptionally. I think the work that our staff have done to partner with the school board and with EDHS is probably one of a kind. It is not something that I've seen before, and provides, again, we speak often at this table about a great opportunity where we can invest into spaces that might not be ours per se, but they're still public spaces. They're spaces that we can offer a gym facility without having to spend $30 million on a gym facility. And this is one more of those items. So again, this is a project that is completely supported by the committee unanimously. I know we're happy to answer any questions if there are any. The plan is following execution of this. There would be an unveiling ceremony upon completion of the Fit Trail Park to celebrate the efforts for those who originally contributed to the EDHS donation funds, and to showcase the intention of this investment back to the community, as again, it would be a benefit for all of Springwater to enjoy.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Anything further? All those in favor? And that has carried. We are now moving on to our action reports. I do have item 1213 pulled. I will list them here. May I have a mover and seconder to get them on the table, please? Councillors Fisher and Moore, that action items 12.2 through 12.13 be received and that the recommendations contained therein be approved as presented. 12.2 is the delegation of powers and the restricted acts of council in lame duck. 12.13 is the award of the winter maintenance. Sorry, 12.3. 12.4 is the award of project 2026-23, the Elmville wastewater treatment plant upgrade. 12.5 is the award of project 2026-29 PW and its engineering consultant for the reconstruction of the Albert Street West in Hillsdale. 12.6 is road naming for Cameron Estates. 12.7 is SU 2025-002 Cameron Estates Phase 3. 12.8 is the Holiday Train 2026. 12.9 is local climate action change update. 12.10 is the community improvement plan, and that's for Jackson Queen. 12.11 is OP 2024-001 and ZB 2024-002. And that is for 1084 Coghlan Road. 1212 ZB 2026-004 is for 1662 George Johnson Road. And 1213, the the Springwater Health Services will be pulled for redirection. Are there any items before us tonight, council, that we want pulled for redirection? Not seeing any, with the exception of 1213. I have it moved and seconded. All those in favor? Oh, that's right. I forgot that part. How many? Just kidding. Councillor Alexander.
Sorry, just a quick.
Thank you.
A quick comment on, looking for the number, sorry. Nope, because we already covered that. I think we spoke about that. The reconstruction of Albert Street in Hillsdale 12.5. I just wanted to, this has obviously been top of mind for many residents in Hillsdale. Very pleased to see this on our agenda and to support the project. It's the first step in an important and much needed investment in the Hillsdale community. Some of the proposed improvements include water main replacement, stormwater management, sidewalks and road construction, all of which will enhance safety, accessibility, and reliability. It's been a long night. Reliability for residents. So thank you for staff for moving this forward, and I look forward to this project starting.
Councillor Garwitt.
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. Just one comment on item 12.8, which is the Holiday Train site relocation. I wanted to commend staff for their efforts. This is I'm going to make an assessment. This is a very important event to this community and especially this council. When we weren't able to have it, it was noticeable. And last year was pretty amazing. But again, from a safety perspective, I think the changes that have been implemented here. So I wanted to commend interim Deputy CAO Culver and your team for working with CPKC on the relocation of the Holiday Train to ensure that the event can continue at relative to no additional expense adjacent to Tree Nursery Sports Park. It'll be far more safe, controllable, better parking, and we won't have people with strollers walking up and down Highway 26 anymore. So thank you to staff for prioritizing this event.
Not seeing any further comments. All those in favor? And that has carried. We will now move on to item 1213. Finds full motion. May I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Moore and Councillor Garwood, that the report from the Director of Recreation, Parks and Facilities titled Springwater Health Services, Elmvale Community Hall and Knox Building Renewal dated July 8th, 2026 be received, and that council endorse proceedings with the renewal of the redevelopment of the township-owned facility located at 33 and 35 Queen Street West. Elmvale recognizing the project as both a strategic physician recruitment and primary care access initiative and a necessary municipal asset renewal and preservation project. That council approve a project commitment in the envelope range of 1.625 million and 3.6 million in order to allow staff to advance the project in a timely manner and preserve the current healthcare services opportunity. That council approve the initial project expenditure of 59,000 plus a 25% contingency in the amount of 14,750 for total cost of 73,750 awarded to Walter Fetty utilizing the Kinetic GPO procurement opportunity to implement the research and design phase of the project in conjunction with the council designated working group. That the initial project expenditures be funded from the tax rate stabilization reserve, and that staff are authorized to continue working with the South Georgian Bay Community Health Center and other project partners to secure and retain the opportunity to accommodate up to 3 primary care physicians within the available provincial program window. And that staff report back to council at key project milestones with refined scope, updated costing, procurement recommendations, proposed lease and occupancy arrangements, and further approvals as required to implement the project. And at this time, I will turn to Councillor Moore or Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you, Director Culver, Acting CAO Culver. I wonder if you could maybe give the Coles Notes version of your report. It's a complicated report, but I think it's important that we understand that we are looking at the building regardless to renovate. It needs improvement, but we're just not quite sure what that improvement looks like. And so the language, and it is in there on purpose that it is a bit vague. So I just wonder if you could highlight that.
Dr. Culver?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And through you to Councillor Moore. So yes, it's a complicated and complex challenge, and it always has been. It's the community hall and the Knox building are in need of renovation, and staff prior to this opportunity coming were on a pathway which started with council's approval of the roof to renew the building over some period of time. That period of time was kind of vague because we knew it was going to be a large cost, likely over $1 million, just based on sort of anecdotal and superficial estimate. But at the same time, we knew that there was a project that had to happen if that facility was going to be sustained. The opportunity presented by the South Georgian Bay Community Health Center and the provincial funding that they'd acquired expedited a new look at how fast we would have to do that in order to accommodate what we would be looking at to host up to 3 healthcare professionals. The challenge is that we're working under some pressure from the provincial fund that needs to have mile markers met. We need to do research and development. We are running out of council meetings to push through rapid approvals that would be required sequentially in order to reach that point. The work that needs to be done includes everything right down to the substructure and understanding and being confirmed and assured that the building underpinnings will support renovation in the longer term. there's just a lot of moving parts. And so this report was an effort to secure the provincial funding or secure the South Georgian Bay Health Community Health Center's commitment to the doctor acquisition by signaling the commitment of council to an outcome, but knowing that we had to follow proper and transparent procurement practices as guided by our bylaws, as guided by just best practice in municipalities, and come to an outcome that hopefully satisfies everybody, leaving council with the decision-making responsibility that it's required to have.
Follow on?
Thank you for that. That was excellent. The report, again, really does clarify what it is that we are needing to do. The working group has been established. We have met once. We have strategized on how we are going to move this forward, how the South Georgian Bay Health Center can also benefit and hopefully move forward in a timely manner, and that we can have the health professionals move in. We may have to be doing some renovating while they're working, but I think that there is something here that we can agree on. Right now, it's $79,000 or $80,000 for architecture and engineering, but I know that will come back to the working group, and then the working group will bring it back to council, and we will continue to work with Heather and her team and move this ahead.
I have Councillor Fisher, Garwood, Alexander.
Well, just a few comments. One, I don't know that we have, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we have full commitment from the South Georgian Bay medical team as of yet. Is that correct in saying that, Mr. Cullen?
Director?
Through you, Mayor, I'm going to look to my right to Heather sitting here. We have confirmation that this is the objective, is to land these doctors in this Elmvale facility. I believe I'm not speaking out of turn by saying that. I think the challenge is to make sure that we can have a facility ready in the timing required by the province in order to facilitate the mandate for the fund that the South Georgian Bay Community Health Center has promised with their grant application. So that's why we're kind of trying to signal that commitment while at the same time observing the appropriate procedures required in order to make good and important decisions and give council the authority that it's supposed to have.
Councillor Fisher?
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. So I am absolutely okay with spending the initial money. I think that this is a facility and a piece of real estate that's sort of strategic within the municipality and certainly Elmvale. So I think, when we talk about structural things like roof and underpinnings, it absolutely warrants spending the initial amount of money. But I will also caution, without a full commitment to build an entire medical facility, right, that we may not be able to staff. We have to be smart about this. I think the initial sum of money to see exactly what needs to be done to that building is a smart thing to do, and we should be doing it anyway. I believe that was said at the table already tonight. But we also need to absolutely stay in contact with the working group and see exactly what that ends up being. And the last thing I would want is to renovate a facility that's sort of obsolete from the time we open it. So we do have to be smart about it. So.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I've just noted out some thoughts on this, and then I will go into some more clarification. Before I do say a few things, I do want to thank Councillor Moore, Director Culver, and the working group. As we know, the working group is with our partners at the Community Health Center, along with Life Labs as well. They are also sitting at the table understanding that they are a tenant in the property. Both have been long-term tenants. So just to clarify, this is not simply a discussion about renovating two buildings. It's a discussion about whether Springwater is prepared to seize a once-in-a-generational opportunity to improve healthcare while making investments we know are coming. For years, Council has made physician recruitment a priority. We directed staff to develop a comprehensive lease model, supported physician recruitment through our budgets, delegated to provincial government and associated agencies 5 times in 3 years, and established a working group to bring forward a plan that makes tonight's decision a reality. Staff have done exactly what council has asked of them, and they have returned with a recommendation that, while yes, can be unclear at times, is well supported and rooted in years of work. The reality is simple. The Elmville Community Hall and the Knox building require significant renewal regardless of this project. These buildings are aging. They are needing major investment, and these costs are not going away. We can choose to invest today and create something that will serve our community for decades, or we can delay the inevitable, pay more later, and still be left without the healthcare opportunity that is in front of us today. What changes everything is the opportunity to partner with the South Georgian Bay Community Health Center and Life Labs to bring up to 3 primary care physicians to Springwater. At a time when access to family doctors has become one of the greatest challenges facing our province, this is a game-changing opportunity. If we fail to act, we risk losing the opportunity to another community. The doctors will go elsewhere, the provincial funding will move on, and we will still be left with 2 aging buildings that require millions of dollars in renewal over the coming years, as outlined in our assessment reports. Staff are not asking council to approve a final design or hand over a blank check. They are recommending a commitment to move the project forward while returning to council with refined costings. The question before council is not whether these buildings need investment. They do. The question is whether we are prepared to make that investment in a way that delivers the greatest possible benefit to our community today. This project does exactly that. It preserves and modernizes important municipal assets, improves accessibility, supports long-term physician recruitment and retention, and creates an ongoing lease revenue stream, which we don't have right now. And most importantly, provides the opportunity to bring up to 3 physicians to Springwater. Opportunities like this are rare. We've had similar opportunities come to this table that have fallen through. The need to renew these buildings is certain. The opportunity to transform that investment into expanded healthcare for our residents is real today. We should move forward with this project and this opportunity. I think a great example, and I understand the concerns regarding the dollar figures. The challenge is our timing. The challenge is that we don't have another council meeting until September. And the challenge is, come September, we cannot make those significant decisions as we fall into lame duck period. We also know that appropriate costing, which is part of the direction tonight, would take multiple weeks, multiple months, which would take us into and beyond that August 21st date. And that is why staff have come forward with the commitment envelope as noted in the direction. I'm going to go through the mayor to the CAO to provide a bit of an example that she provided to myself and Councillor Moore regarding clarification of what an approval tonight would look like in comparison to some of the approvals we do during budget time.
CAO. Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The motion and the recommendation before council this evening is to endorse the project with an approval of the funds in order to complete the phase 1 of the project, we can call it, being the architectural designs and engineering. This would be something similar that you would see around budget. Staff would bring forward a proposal for, say, a road project, reconstruction of a road project. Council would provide their authority, their approval. Staff would then go back, do the award, the RFP, whatever procurement process is required, and have to come back to council with a limit of over $75,000 for council to award the project. That would be the same case for this. This is initially phase 1. Council, should they approve the $75,000 expenditure with the award to Walter Feedy, the next step would be for a report to come back to council with the costing, the 3 options for council to make a determination on moving forward. So the next step does require a council approval. As Councillor Garwood mentioned, council will be in lame duck with an assumption of lame duck as of August 21st, and council will not be able to make that decision, which means the next part of this process would be presented to the new term of council.
Councillor Garwood.
Follow on. Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you, CEO Ainsworth. And that's the exact clarification that I required to wrap my brain around it as well. Is again, this is the same process in which we approve a road, we approve the road, we say yes, staff get the execution and the commitment to move forward. We also say to the community that a project is occurring. We haven't yet spent the money. We haven't yet signed the check. We haven't yet gone out to RFP or RFQ or any of those processes, but we have made that commitment. This is exactly that. Councillor Fisher, you referenced a commitment from the CHC. Respectfully, it goes both ways though. While we want the commitment from the CHC also needs a commitment from us. And that is what tonight's purpose is. From a business perspective, it is not our prerogative as to how the CHC manages their hiring and recruitment of physicians and how that looks. That is the CHC's responsibility. But for them to be able to commit to a project with us and a partnership with us, we also must make a commitment back to them. And while in a perfect world, we could expedite this a lot quicker and we could have every approval possible that we need from the CHC, the reality is it's not going to get any better than this. And we've already, from a staff perspective and from a working group perspective, jump through hoops to get this recommendation to a point where this gives the CHC a commitment from the municipality while also still giving appropriate oversight by Springwater. We are approving a project commitment envelope in the range of tonight, should it go forward, along with the execution of the initial upfront expenses for the costing and the engineering, as Councillor Moore noted. And then once the final execution is required, it will come back to council of the day. But at least the CHC has a commitment and understands that, yes, council has the ultimate decision-making authority. Council can always change courses, right? We've done it before on projects. It is our authority to change paths. That will never be removed from the equation, but it still gives that oversight that is necessary. While it also still gives a commitment and it allows these two facilities, it allows staff, it allows the working group, the execution it requires to move forward. Also to meet a very tight timeline that is designated around the funding that has been provided as well. It is an opportunity and we might have to step a little bit outside of our comfort zone on this one. If we don't, it'll move on. It's not waiting for us.
Before I move on to the list here, I'm gonna ask for a mover and seconder for motion to extend our time. Councillor Moore and Councillor Thompson, all those in favor? And that has carried. And I will now turn to Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So thank you, Director Culver, for indulging me yesterday with my many questions, which I did tell you I was going to ask publicly. So the first one is probably kind of been answered, but if you have anything further to add to kind of explaining what the project commitment envelope authorizes council to do versus final project budget. If there's anything else you want to add to that, it has been discussed, but please feel free. And then the second question I had spoke to you about was if you could outline the anticipated funding strategy if council approves some or all of the design and implementation that result from the architectural and due diligence work.
Director Culver?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you to Councillor Alexander for providing me with the questions so that I could, and I hope it's okay if you'll indulge me reading my answers. It just helps. So the project commitment envelope, the answer to the first question, it's intended to authorize the township to proceed with the project and preserve the opportunity of the provincial funding within an approved approved financial range, while at the same time recognizing that the final preferred scope, so the options selected by council, the phasing and capital budget will be further refined through the architectural and due diligence process and returned to council for subsequent approval. The final project budget would be presented once council has the benefit of a schematic design, Class D costing, procurement advice, and a recommended funding strategy. And then speaking to the funding strategy, So at this stage, the anticipated funding strategy for phase one is to proceed using the tax rate stabilization reserve. But future recommendations for council approval to proceed with construction will be accompanied by recommendations for funding that may include assessments of lease revenue, self-debt or external debt, or even grant possibilities, and other municipal financing tools for council's consideration and approval.
And before I go to the following, just as a note, our deputy clerk is monitoring the meeting from electronically until the return of our clerk. We just can't have a meeting without a clerk. Councillor Alexander, follow on.
Thank you, Director Culver. Yeah, so I thank you for the answers. And as I said, yes, speaking with me about it so I could fully get my head around it because there are big dollar numbers. However, this is a very important opportunity. So I do fully support advancing this project by authorizing phase one, the architectural and due diligence work. I feel this allows us to preserve healthcare opportunity that we are fortunate enough to have while obtaining the necessary information so we can make sure we're making responsible capital decisions. So fully supportive, and thank you for walking all of us through kind of just the little intricacies of this. As you mentioned, it's a difficult scenario that we're in, but it's a very fortunate one as well.
Councillor Fisher?
Thank you. Naturally, I'm in full support of moving ahead with this tonight. I do have a few questions that may not be able to be answered now. You know, what is the timeline for finding out when we are getting funding for it from the CHC? Also, if that funding is awarded, what would be the projected outlook to get a physician or in fact 3 physicians, right? And so those are a few questions I have. I'm just being a pragmatist about it. You know, if I fully support taking a look at the structure in the building. And the reason I say that is that needs to be done anyway, in my eyes. So that needs to be done. And if this never worked out, that still needs to be done. We still need to commit to that facility, right? We can't let it decay. So I'm fully in support of that. My worry is that we essentially mold this facility, renovate it into, you know, an office that maybe it doesn't come, or maybe it's one physician, or maybe it doesn't come to fruition, right? And we've committed to it. So I just, you know, I would just say I'd like to take a look at, maybe not tonight, you know, move ahead with this tonight, but certainly timelines and how things line up before we start committing to that type of renovation. So I don't know if anyone can answer those questions for me, but.
I see three separate hands. I have, I'll go to Director Culver, and then I have comment from Councillor Moore and Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. So I think there need a point of clarity to begin with. The funding from the province is to enable and support the onboarding of physicians. It's not for the capital project. So the capital project would be something the township owns, separate from the provincial funding, but the provincial funding commitment is reliant on a place for those doctors to land. So that's why we're in partnership, because without that place to land, the province won't allow money to be spent here because there's no place for to put it. And those doctors would end up going somewhere else. When we come back with funding, there are elements of the report that talk about things like lease model. So we don't currently have a leasing program when it comes to it. So in consultation with Heather, we've come to an idea that still requires appropriate vetting and working through in a business case of approximately $43,000 a year coming back to the township. So it creates the opportunity to look at a debt model, for example, that has some supportive funding. It's up to council to decide whether or not we're, in the right sort of ratios and framework to make themselves comfortable. But at the same time, it is a business case that we will be presenting at the time when capital opportunities are being also recommended. So yeah, I just think it's important to be clear about where the provincial money is going and what the township is, what we're looking here. We're looking for a commitment from the township to enable that money from the province, enabling doctors to become professionals within the township.
Follow on?
Absolutely. No, thank you for clarifying that. No, I'm aware that comes from the province and this is our money. I'm just more interested in timelines. Do we need to have a facility waiting in order to get the funding, sort of what chicken or the egg, right? Do we need to essentially build a facility and wait, and hope that it happens after spending really millions? Or is it something where we would know that this funding is going to happen and we have some lead time to then say, okay, guys, we know what the facility needs, structurally. Now let's renovate it, to be purpose-built and leasable.
Director Culver?
So thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Fisher, for clarifying your question. I probably took it in the wrong direction. Apologize. So the timing issue. So again, in conversations with Heather, and it was shared with the working group, there are 2 doctors committed. So we have already a need for 2. We've been working with Heather to modify the existing space to allow for the landing of a doctor this August or this summer. I don't want to put a time frame on it, but so we're already in the process of accommodating a single doctor without doing anything with the major renovation. The problem is we're then out of space. We are talking about getting into a very tricky sharing arrangement and working out how we're going to be able to bring on board the second doctor, which is, I think, scheduled for May-ish. And so that's the second doctor. Sorry? And 2 more to come. So we're working on a timeline to accommodate work that's already in progress based on provincial funding having been secured and announced and all ready to go. So we're doing our best to work in partnership in order to not lose this opportunity. So hopefully that helps to answer.
Councillor Moore?
Thank you. And just to reiterate, this is just a beginning, but it is the architectural piece and the consultant piece that need to at least advise us as to what renovations are possible. But I think in conversation with Heather, she has said that this is doable and workable. And we are excited to have physicians come to Elmvale. So like you said, it's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity, or Councillor Garwood said. We can't let it go by, so we need to figure out a way to work together.
Councillor Fisher?
Just, through you to Director Culver. So I wouldn't expect you to have numbers yet, but you said you'd be, and we're not used to it, you would have a leasing agreement drafted up. And so it really would be, it would become a revenue source for us. So yeah, if you could maybe speak to that to the degree that you can. I wouldn't expect you to have numbers tonight.
Director Culver?
Thank you, Mayor. And through you, yeah. So again, we have some preliminary conversations with Heather. It's a lot of words in your title, so I'm not using them all. I apologize. But yes, we've had preliminary conversations about a leasing threshold that would be comfortable, and using that, we put in the report $43,000 a year with CPI, consideration going forward, and this allows us, when the capital conversation happens, to say there is a business case here. If we're amortizing over 25, 30 years, whatever, what do leasing payments look like in that vein? It allows us to create the business model. It has not been created yet, nor have we reached agreement or signed an agreement as of yet. But that's the work that we will be doing as we get closer and closer to that report to council regarding the capital spending approval.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And I think it's important to note the funding has been announced publicly. The ministry has already put that out there. MPP Saunderson has spoken about it in the media at length as well. But I think it's also important to discuss as well, it's not just the CHC, right? We have a great partner in Life Labs. Life Labs has already doubled their hours recently. And there's been discussions about where that can even lead further into the future. So they are committed. We've also asked for letters of support from both organizations as well that can come to council, that can speak to both the CHC and Life Labs, not only historical support, but the support that they plan on having forward in the future as well. And that was a conversation at the working group table. So again, I see tonight as not only the opportunity, of course, to execute the initial expenditures, but of course, approving that window of threshold, or that threshold, and providing that commitment to the CHC, the same commitment that really they have provided to us in return. I know Heather is here this evening. Heather's the executive director of the South Georgian Bay Community Health Center. Hopefully I got all that right, Heather. And I know she's available for any questions if council had any.
Thank you. Not seeing anything further, I just want to reiterate that it's not often that a council gets to make an exciting decision like this. This is absolutely incredible that we've been able to partner our staff, our community, and council together, and we actually have doctors knocking on our door, not the other way around. So this is incredibly exciting. I think that should this not have been an election year and lame duck wasn't there, this could have been a different process, but I especially thank you for the report and finding a way that we didn't have to say no because of lame duck. So this allows our community to move forward, and I am very, very excited to vote on this. If there's anything further. Oh, Councillor Moore.
No, thank you. I'm just prepared to table the motion now.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. As discussed with Councillor Garwood, I have drafted the following amendment for your consideration. I have confirmed with DCA O'Culver, letters of support, blah, blah, blah. So I just sort of had to go through there. Sorry, my apologies.
Clerk Ainsworth.
The motion, no, it's okay, I got it. The motion now before council be amended as follows. Replace, is that what we're doing? Replace the last paragraph with the following. That staff report back to council prior to initiating key project milestones with refined cost estimates, phasing options, procurement recommendations, lease opportunity and occupancy arrangements, funding options, and any further items required to implement the project for council consideration and approval. And that staff report back to council at key project milestones with refined scope, updated costing, procurement recommendations, proposed lease and occupancy arrangements, and any further approvals required to implement the project.
I'm looking for a seconder for that, please. I have Councillor Fisher, and I'm going to return to CO Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And I just do want to clarify, the last portion that Councillor Moore read is the paragraph that is being replaced. So the first portion, it's quite similar. However, it just has a bit stronger wording regarding the reporting back to council.
Thank you.
I do have that moved in second, and we are voting on the amendment. Council, all in favor of the amendment? That has carried. And we will move back to the main motion as amended. All those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you. Congratulations to the members of the public and members of staff and council. This is very exciting. And I will remind you that there's no cheering. I'm just late. We will continue on now to our information reports. Item 13. We have mover and seconder for these, please. Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood, that the report items listed herein be received as information. 13.2 is the changes to the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. 13.3 is the traffic calming measures. 13.4 is the natural snow fence trail. 13.5 is the Springwater Township subsidies for external recreational programs. 13.6 is procurement bylaw authorities of 13.7 is the notice of motion for procurement audit follow-up, and 13.8 has been pulled to be dealt with separately. Any comments or, sorry, are there any additional items to be pulled? Any comments on the remaining items? Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a couple comments. The first one is item 13.3, which is the traffic calming measures report. I do just want to thank Director Harvey, Manager Eberhardt, and their respective staffs for bringing back a very detailed report as directed by council through a previous notice of motion I brought forward, focused on traffic calming measures, details on traffic calming measures related to unassumed roads, and also a potential designation of a school zone on Queen Street in Elmvale. While the designation is not possible due to Highway Traffic Act regulations, it was still a meaningful endeavor, and I'm currently working with staff on alternate opportunities as well that we'll work on over the summer. I also wanted to comment on item 13.4, which is the natural snow fence trial. I think this is absolutely an excellent idea, a bit of thinking outside of the box to formalize a process that we know so many agricultural property owners already participate in just themselves. But now there would be a direct benefit for this program. The trial locations will include Floss Road 7 West and Ushers Road, which we know has been a challenge location, especially with the significant weather that we have received over the past couple years in the northern part of the municipality. So I thank staff for formalizing a process and bringing this forward.
Additional comments? So we are voting on the items before us with the exception of 13.8. All those in favor? And that has carried. And a mover and seconder for 13.8, please. Councillor Garwood and Councillor Alexander, and I will turn to Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. 13.8 is regarding additional crossing guards. Again, this is a report directly related from a notice of motion that council supported and I brought forward about a month or two ago. I thank CAO and the clerk's office for their efforts on this. The crossing guard program has continued to expand in our municipality. Again, I always look back at some history from a time where we reduced the program to now seeing it expand, I believe, with 4 existing crossing guards across the municipality. Obviously, as we know, with Elmville being the only complete community in the municipality, also having 3 schools within the settlement area as well, there are significant challenges that we've worked with both the school board, the individual schools themselves, the bus consortium over, and obviously our public works staff on trying to enhance safety in a lot of these school zones. Something that we've implemented in the past, of course, has been the 2 crossing guards in Elmville. And while none of those crossing guards met the warrants outlined, none of them, I believe, across the municipality. And for transparency, neither do these ones. The reality is, I believe, and I know members of this council have been firm in their support on this program. The additional 2 crossing guard locations have been proposed, as one being on Simcoe Street, which is directly across from Huronia Centennial Elementary School, and another being the Kerr and Shaw Street intersection, which now has a crosswalk, which was added during the Kerr Street reconstruction project late last year. The current cost associated for 4 crossing guards is roughly $60,000. This would obviously add an additional 2 crossing guards. So from an annualized budget perspective, it would be an annual add of $30,200. But for the 2026 salaries associated would be $12,800 pending successful recruitment, understanding it has been challenging at times to find qualified candidates for the role. So I have an amendment coming forward this evening that, subject to successful recruitment of qualified crossing guards, council authorizes staff to proceed with the implementation of crossing guards at the Simcoe Street marked crosswalk and the Kerr/Shaw Street intersections for the fall 2026 school year.
And a seconder for that, please. Councillor Alexander. Anything further on the amendment? All those in favor? That is carried, and we will go back to the main motion as amended. All those in favor? And that has carried. Do we have municipal updates? Are you sure? Councillor Alexander.
I will be super quick. Phelpston Canada Day fireworks. Just wanted to thank everyone who volunteered, donated fireworks, and attended from this table, including Deputy Mayor Cabral, Councillor Garwood, and Councillor Moore. Thank you for coming out. Upcoming, the Paul Craddock Memorial Ringer Dinger Tournament will be on Sunday, August 2nd at the Phelpston Ball Diamond. Stay tuned for further information coming after our CRA meeting next week, but mark your calendars. It is always a great day. And a quick shout out and thank you to the Elmville and District Lions Club golf tournament in support of GBGH. all the amazing work both organizations do across the municipality. It was a great day and was happy to attend. Also there, Councillor Garwood, Councillor Moore, and Deputy Mayor Cabral. So it was great to see support for such an important cause in our community.
Councillor Garwood?
And I echo all of those sentiments, and the Winger Dinger is a great event, so make sure you attend. Just a couple items. We haven't had a council meeting since our 18th annual Springwater Swing. I wanted to thank township staff for all of their efforts. That is a lot of work put on a lot of people that we don't have an events team. We don't have, this is, as the mayor has often said at this table, other duties as assigned, and they knocked it out of the park literally on this event. So thank you to them. Because of their efforts, we're able to give to so many meaningful organizations over the years. When they come forward, we have a fund to be able to pull from. I also wanted to highlight and give a shout out to one pretty incredible group, the North Simcoe Junior Farmers. Recently, they put out on social media, which I know many of us around the table have seen, they have created a safer and more enjoyable outdoor space for the residents at Sierra Vista. And when I think of a community in action, when I think of a service club, they continue to go above and beyond. They often don't get mentioned around tables like this, so they deserve a ton of credit for spending their time and their weekend and their resources, both time and financial wise, to support our only long-term care home in Springwater.
Sorry, I'm just asking, now that we're moving on to our notices of motion, I was asking CO Ainsworth, would you like to excuse our staff or your staff? I mean, more than welcome to stick along, but we're just going to go through the notices of motion. So the 15.1, this is a notice of motion brought forward by Councillor Fisher and a seconder for this, Councillor Moore, and I will turn to Councillor Fisher.
All right, thank you. The council directs staff to investigate the feasibility of extending the existing 40-kilometer-an-hour speed limit zone on Old Second Road further south to Pools Road, and that staff report back to council with recommendations at a future meeting. Give a bit of an overview. Right now at the end of Old Second Road, it is 40 kilometers an hour, right where there's quite a few homes. What we're seeing is more homes being built further down, and it has been requested by residents, not only in the new homes, but also in the older homes, that it be looked at extending the 40-kilometer-an-hour zone further on. The hopes is that that not only is it a lower speed limit outside of the homes, the new homes, but also that people slow down well in advance of the existing homes. So just want staff to take a look at it and let us know about the feasibility.
Any questions on the report back? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. Moving on to item 15.2, motion by Councillor Fisher, and a seconder for this, please, Councillor Garwood, and I will turn back to Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. Whereas the gazebo structure covering the community post boxes on Windat Trail is in need of repair, and whereas maintaining infrastructure in a safe, functional, and presentable condition in the public interest supports residents' continued access to postal services, be it therefore resolved that council directs staff to undertake the necessary repairs to the gazebo covering the community mailboxes on Windat Trail no later than August 1st, 2026. For those of you who are in the area, it's actually it's a very nice gazebo that covers the existing mailboxes on Windat. However, it has aged, but the main concern that residents have is it looks like a snowplow has pushed in one of the main structural pillars, and it is becoming a safety issue. So it does need some repairs, and yeah, the residents are just looking to have that done. The main catalyst, though, is a safety issue.
Comments or questions? Just clarification, the gazebo itself, is it township property on township property? CO Ainsworth?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The gazebo is on township property. However, it was not constructed by the municipality. I believe, my understanding is that it might have been constructed by the developers.
Any further comments or questions? All those in favor? And that has carried. Moving on to item 15.3, a motion brought forward by Councillor Garwood. Seconder for this, please, Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood.
Whereas the Elmville Lions Club is a long-standing community partner whose volunteer efforts and fundraising activities help strengthen local services, promote civic engagement, and improve quality of life for residents. And whereas the Lions Club provides valuable support to the community through charitable fundraising, assistance to local residents, and contributions to community programs and initiatives. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve an annual contribution in the amount of $2,500 to the Elmville Lions Club to assist with the cost of property taxes commencing in 2026, and that this contribution be established as a reoccurring annual contribution and be included in the township's annual budget process, and further that the annual contribution be funded from proceeds from the Springwater Swing, subject to sufficient funds being available, and further that staff be directed to report back to council in 2027 with which would include the following: 1, an inventory of service clubs within the township that own property and pay property taxes, and 2, a draft policy that would provide grant opportunities for service clubs in relation to property taxes. Again, the catalyst for this initiative, long story short, of course, has been, we know our service clubs that do own property in the municipality, like the Lions Club, as an example, give so much, and their mandates, for the most part, are to give all of their funding back into the community. I see a proposed policy as very similar to the property tax, the heritage property tax rebate program that already exists with the municipality, where service clubs that are approved by the municipality and defined by the municipality that own property within the municipality that is open to the public would then have an opportunity to submit a grant opportunity that would then cover the cost of their property taxes to ensure that the service clubs that own property can continue to do good work in the municipality and put that money back into the township. Thank you to the finance department for your collaboration on trying to find a path forward in this example, and looking forward to hopefully this coming back to council in 2027.
Comments or questions? All those in favor? And that has carried. Item 15.4 has been deferred. And we'll move on to, are there any other items? No, notices of motion? Any items for future consideration? May I have a mover and seconder for the bylaws, please? Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood. That the bylaws listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. 2026-005, the special event bylaw. 2026-056, the amend the parking bylaw. 2026-057, delegations of powers to lame duck. 2026-058, road naming for 1200 Seaton Road. 2026-005, OP 2024-001 of 1084 Coghlan Road. 5,418 LH 2026-001. This is Thompson Phase 1A. 5,419 ZB 2026-006, 1804 Old Second North. 5,420 ZB 2024-002, 1084 Coghlan Road. 5,412 ZB 2023. 5,421 ZB 2026-007, and this is for 1662 George Johnson Road. Any comments or questions on the bylaws? All those in favor? And that has carried. A motion and seconder for the confirmation bylaw, please. Councillor Garwood and Councillor Thompson. That bylaw 2026 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council of the regular meeting held on July 8th, 2026, listed here and be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? That has carried. And adjournment, please. Councillors Thompson and Garwood, that the regular meeting of the township does now adjourn at there was a 6 on my computer. It says 10:26, but it's the wrong time. 10:20 to meet again in the regular meeting on September 2nd, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you.